What time is it? Where you are? Perhaps it is late at night, and the world around you is quiet. Maybe you are lying in bed, your phone or your headphones the only glow in a darkened room. If you step outside now, or even just imagine yourself stepping outside, the sky above would be waiting. A sky older than humanity, older than Earth itself. A sky not of silence, but of endless unspoken stories. If you tilt your head upward and let your eyes adjust, you may notice the thin scattering of stars. Each one seems tiny, delicate, almost fragile against the dark. Yet every one is a blazing sun, vast beyond measure, some orbited by planets, others barren and alone. The air around you is still. The ground beneath you feels safe. And yet, the space above, that is where the mystery begins. Tonight we are not simply looking at the stars. Tonight we are tracing the faint path of a visitor, a traveller from a place so far away that the numbers begin to lose their meaning. This is not the first time such a wanderer has entered our solar system. You may remember the whispers that spread in 2017, when an object named ʻOumuamua, Hawaiian for scout, was spotted slicing through our skies. And 2 years later, in 2019, another came, the comet Borisov, shedding its tail like a ghostly lantern as it fell past the sun. But now astronomers have found something new, something different. The third interstellar visitor. Its name, for now, is Atlas, a simple label for an extraordinary mystery. Imagine the scene of its discovery, a telescope perched on a mountaintop in Hawaii, part of the Atlas survey, designed to scan the skies each night for dangers that may threaten our fragile world. On one of those nights, as images were stitched together frame by frame, a faint speck of light revealed itself, moving just slightly faster, slightly stranger than the rest. Computers flagged it. Astronomers blinked. They checked again. And there it was, a new object sliding across the backdrop of the stars at a speed no ordinary asteroid from our own solar system should possess. It was faint, nearly lost in the static. But the more they measured, the more it became clear. This object was not from here. Its orbit was open, hyperbolic, meaning it was not bound to the sun. It came from far beyond our planetary family, and when it left, it would not return. A messenger from the deep galactic night. Try to picture its journey. A chunk of rock or ice or something stranger still drifting through interstellar space for millions, perhaps billions of years. No star to orbit, no light to warm it. Just darkness and the cold breath of eternity. And yet, somehow it arrived here, past Neptune, sliding inward toward our little blue world. Astronomers measured its speed. Faster than a rifle bullet, faster than 170 bullets, hurtling at tens of kilometers per second, as though eager to cross our system before we even had the chance to greet it. Its size was estimated, perhaps hundreds of meters across, perhaps more, as large as a mountain or as small as a tower block. Difficult to know for certain. For now, the name 3i Atlas is little more than a catalogue entry, a string of letters and numbers, but in time the stories that grow around it will weigh far heavier than its name. Because almost immediately as astronomers watched, they began to notice something odd. This was not a comet, at least not in the way Borisov was. It did not display the same bright coma of evaporating ice, nor did it behave like a simple asteroid, rock and silence in motion. Instead, its light curve, the way its brightness shifted, hinted at something irregular, something elongated or tumbling, or perhaps even changing shape. The kind of signal that makes scientists lean closer to their screens, frowning, because what they see does not quite fit the rules they expect. You can imagine that moment, a quiet control room, the hush of air conditioning, the glow of monitors, and on those screens data that tells us something has arrived. Something not born under the sun but passing through it. Something that reminds us how open our skies truly are, how thin the boundary is between our sheltered little home and the vast, restless universe beyond. As you listen, you might feel a shiver. Not the sharp kind of fear, but the softer, more ancient kind. The awe that comes from realizing how small we are, how temporary, and how easily the universe can reach in when it chooses. Tonight, we follow this visitor. Tonight, we follow 3i Atlas, and we ask the question no one can resist. What is it really that has come to us from the dark between the stars? And stranger still, is it truly alone? When we speak of discovery, we often picture a flash of revelation. Archimedes in his bath, Newton under an apple tree. But in the modern age, discovery is quieter, more subtle. It takes place in windowless rooms filled with humming computers, in observatories perched above the clouds, in strings of numbers drifting across monitors. That is where the universe reveals its secrets now, not in sudden flashes, but in long, patient watching. 3i Atlas was first glimpsed not by human eyes peering through an eyepiece, but by the automated gaze of a machine. The Atlas project, the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, is a survey telescope network designed not for wonder, but for defense. Its mission is practical, almost humble, to scan the sky each night in search of small near-Earth objects that might one day threaten our planet. In the still hours before dawn, it captures image after image, sweeping across the firmament, searching for anything that moves against the backdrop of fixed stars. On one such night, a series of exposures revealed a faint point of light. To the untrained eye, it would have been indistinguishable from the countless cosmic grains scattered across the black canvas of space. But in the sequence of images, it betrayed itself. It shifted just slightly where the stars did not. A tiny smudge of motion against eternity. The telescope flagged it. Software tracked it. The data was sent onward. At first, nothing about the discovery seemed remarkable. Countless asteroids are catalogued each year. Most are small, local, unremarkable. Yet, as the data accumulated, the strangeness became apparent. The trajectory, once plotted, was wrong. The object was moving too fast for a typical asteroid bound to the sun's gravity. Its orbit was not elliptical, like the graceful paths of comets and planets, but hyperbolic, an open curve that would never close, never circle back. This object had not been born in the solar system. It was a traveller from the galaxy at large. Astronomers adjusted their instruments, coordinating across observatories worldwide. Follow-up observations poured in. Each new measurement confirmed the impossible. The numbers sharpened, and the conclusion became inescapable. This was our third recorded interstellar visitor. First had come ʻOumuamua, enigmatic and needle-like. Then Borisov with its familiar cometary halo. And now, through Atlas, different again. Something between the two, or perhaps beyond them both. Pause for a moment to appreciate what this means. For most of human history, we believed the stars were fixed, distant, unreachable. Even after we learned the truth, that each is a sun with worlds of its own, we imagined the gulfs between them to be impassable. Space seemed empty, a silent vacuum. And yet here, in just a handful of years, 3 messengers have arrived, crossing that unimaginable void. It suggests something extraordinary, that the galaxy may be far more connected than we once dared to believe. Consider the scale. Interstellar space is not littered with objects. It is not crowded like a forest, but empty like a desert. Imagine standing on a shoreline and throwing a pebble into the ocean, then waiting for it to wash up on some faraway beach. The odds are staggeringly small, and yet, against those odds, here it is, a pebble on our shore carried across the black sea of stars. At first, the announcement was quiet, a brief circular distributed among astronomers. A new object, designation assigned, nothing more. But the news spread, carried by those who understood what it implied. Scientists began to whisper, then to speak, then to argue. What was it? What did it mean? And why now? Why so soon after the first 2? The name itself, 3i Atlas, carries meaning. The 3i marks it as the third recognised interstellar object, third in a series that may once have seemed impossible. Atlas, of course, denotes the survey that found it, standing as both an acronym and a mythic echo of the titan who held the heavens on his shoulders. For a time, astronomers were content simply to track its path. Calculations suggested it had entered the solar system from a direction near the constellation Serpens, a region of sky filled with the coiling figure of the serpent-bearer. Like a whisper sliding in from the darkness, it threaded past the outer planets, following a course that would bring it near the inner system, before eventually slingshotting away again into the abyss. But even in those early days, anomalies surfaced. The brightness did not remain constant. It pulsed irregularly, suggesting a shape that was elongated or rotating. Unlike Borisov, it showed no obvious cometary coma, no bright spray of gas or dust evaporating under the sun's heat. Nor was it as dim and unreflective as most asteroids. It seemed to hover in between categories, as though refusing to be neatly classified. These details may seem minor, but to astronomers they were a riddle. Nature tends to follow patterns. Rocks behave like rocks, ice like ice, dust like dust. But 3i Atlas was something else, a rule breaker. And in the quiet nights of the observatories, where telescopes whir and focus on their unblinking watch, the unease began to grow. The public heard little of this at first. Headlines mentioned a third interstellar object, but the story was overshadowed by other, more terrestrial concerns. Only a handful of those paying close attention realized how strange this visitor really was. Most people, glancing at the news, likely imagined a harmless comet, passing and gone. Few understood that this discovery marked another step into a widening unknown. Step outside with me again, if you will, into the night, the air cool against your skin, the horizon dark. Look upward and imagine that faint speck of light too dim for your eyes, but racing silently across the heavens. Somewhere above, 3i Atlas is moving still, carrying with it the echoes of whatever distant star system cast it adrift. It has crossed millions of years of darkness to arrive here, at this moment, within reach of our telescopes and our questions. Pause and breathe, inhale, exhale. Feel the quiet of the night as though it belongs to you. The stars are steady, indifferent, timeless. But among them, a traveller is passing, and we are watching. Soon astronomers would dig deeper into the data. They would measure, remeasure, and whisper among themselves about what they saw. Some would propose natural explanations, others would shake their heads. And somewhere, in the spaces between their calculations, the first hints of something more unsettling would begin to emerge. Because 3 Atlas was not just a visitor, it was a messenger, and the message was not simple. Not simple at all. When astronomers discover a new object, the first step is always the same. Measure. Measure its brightness. Measure its trajectory. Measure its change over time. From these fragments of light and motion, a picture is assembled, like reconstructing the outline of a bird from a single feather floating in the wind. With 3 Atlas, that process began the night it was found, and every hour since has added weight to the mystery. The first measurements concerned its speed. At the time of detection, 3i Atlas was racing inward at nearly 30 kilometers per second relative to the Sun. To put that in perspective, imagine a bullet fired from a high-powered rifle. Now imagine 170 of them, lined up and fired at once. That is the speed at which this visitor cuts across the void, faster than the Earth itself orbits the Sun, faster than any human-made probe travelling beyond our planetary neighbourhood. Objects moving at such velocity are not of local origin. No asteroid from the main belt between Mars and Jupiter moves like this. No comet bound by the Sun's leash can sustain such a path. This was the unmistakable signature of an interstellar traveller, something born elsewhere, bearing momentum from the depths of the galaxy. Next came size and brightness. Based on its reflectivity, scientists estimated 3i Atlas to be anywhere between 150 and 400 meters across. That range is wide because brightness depends not only on size but on the albedo, the surface's ability to reflect sunlight. A dark, carbon-rich object might be large and dim. A bright, icy surface might be smaller but shining. In truth, no one could say for certain. It might be as large as a city block, or as vast as a mountain, sliding silently across our skies. To anchor that thought, picture a skyscraper drifting through space. Imagine a silent tower of glass and stone stripped of windows and steel, tumbling end over end, illuminated only by the faint rays of the distant sun. Now magnify that image until it stretches for hundreds of meters, the height of a mountain looming above a plain. That is the scale of 3i Atlas. Not small, not negligible, but a body that, if it were to collide with Earth, could release energy rivaling the greatest catastrophes in natural history. Fortunately, its trajectory spared us. The calculated path showed no risk of impact, no danger to our world. It would pass through, brush by, and depart. Yet the fact that it passed at all was enough to trouble the mind. Then there was composition. At first, scientists expected 3i Atlas to behave like a comet. Most objects thrown loose from their home systems are icy, volatile, fragile. As they approach a new star, they flare with heat, spraying tails of vapour and dust. Borisov had done just this, painting the night sky with a pale coma as it fled past the sun. But 3 Atlas refused to play that role. It did not glow with vapour. It did not trail a tail. Instead, it remained strangely quiet, a muted silhouette against the cosmic sea. At times its brightness flickered, suggesting an irregular shape, perhaps elongated like a shard of glass, or tumbling like a dead satellite. But the absence of a tail was notable. It was as though it carried no ice, no volatile skin to evaporate. Some wondered if this meant it was more like an asteroid, a rock instead of a snowball. But even then, its surface reflected too much light, as though polished by forces unknown. It was an in-between object, neither comet nor asteroid, neither familiar nor entirely alien. Even its rotation hinted at strangeness. Variations in brightness suggested it was tumbling chaotically, not spinning smoothly like most objects. This kind of motion could result from a violent past, a collision perhaps, or an ejection from its home system by some gravitational slingshot. But some speculated otherwise. Could it be deliberate? Could such tumbling be part of a design, a way to stabilize or disguise? The questions remained unspoken in the early papers, but they lingered nonetheless. And then there was the trajectory itself. Plotting its course backward, astronomers tried to trace its origin. They looked for a home star, a system from which it might have been cast adrift. But the path was imprecise, blurred by gravitational nudges over millions of years. It seemed to emerge from nowhere in particular, a child of the void carrying no parentage we could identify. Pause for a moment. Step outside in your imagination again into the quiet of the night. Look upward. Imagine that faint shard drifting silently through the sky above you, faster than 170 bullets, larger than the tallest tower in your city. Imagine its surface, dark, smooth, perhaps scarred by ancient impacts. Imagine that it has been travelling, without pause, for millions of years, across gulfs so wide that human words lose their meaning. And now, after all that wandering, it passes near you, near Earth, near the fragile civilization we call home. For astronomers, this was both exhilarating and unsettling. Each new interstellar object is a priceless scientific opportunity. These are not just stray rocks. They are samples of other star systems, carrying within them clues about how planets form elsewhere, about what materials populate the galaxy at large. To capture their light is to glimpse the chemistry of the cosmos. But 3 Atlas did not yield its secrets easily. Its silence, its lack of a tail, its irregular brightness, all resisted easy classification. As weeks passed, the data mounted. Light curves sharpened, velocity confirmed. Yet the picture did not simplify. It only grew more complex. Some models suggested the object might be metallic, denser than expected. Others hinted at a hollow interior or an elongated shard-like geometry. The numbers did not converge. It was not the first time astronomers had struggled with such ambiguity. ʻOumuamua, too, had defied explanation, flickering with impossible brightness shifts, accelerating without a tail. Some had even whispered cautiously about artificial origins. But those whispers had been quickly buried, dismissed by the conservative machinery of science. Still, the thought lingered, ghost-like, in the margins of every discussion. Now with 3 Atlas the ghost returned. Imagine being one of those astronomers staring at the data late into the night. Your coffee grows cold, your eyes blur from staring at graphs, but the numbers remain. They tell you of an object that does not fit the categories you've spent your life learning. An object that should not be here, yet is. An object moving too fast, reflecting too brightly, refusing to behave. And then, as you step outside the observatory and look at the stars, you wonder, how many more are out there slipping past unnoticed? How many have come before, unseen, drifting by in the darkness? And what, exactly, is this one carrying with it? Take a breath now. Let the unease settle into calm. The night sky above you is vast but steady. The earth is safe beneath your feet. The visitor is distant, its path harmless to our world, for now. And yet, somewhere in that stillness, 3i Atlas spins on, carrying with it a message we do not yet know how to read. This was only the beginning. Soon, astronomers would compare it with its predecessors, ʻOumuamua, Borisov, and realize that something deeper, something stranger, was unfolding. A pattern was beginning to take shape, a pattern we may not wish to see. When the news of 3i Atlas began to spread beyond astronomy circles, the first question many asked was, how does it compare to the others? To ʻOumuamua, the first interstellar messenger, and to Borisov, the second? For the human mind, patterns are everything. To make sense of the unknown, we place it beside what we already know, drawing lines of similarity, measuring strangeness by degrees. ʻOumuamua came first, discovered in October 2017 by the Pan-STARRS survey in Hawaii. It startled astronomers not only because it was the first confirmed interstellar object, but because it behaved in ways that defied expectations. Its trajectory was hyperbolic, confirming its origin outside the solar system. Its shape, inferred from fluctuations in brightness, was bizarre, extremely elongated, perhaps like a cigar, or alternatively like a flattened pancake. It tumbled chaotically, reflecting sunlight in uneven bursts, as though turning a polished shard of metal in the light. Even stranger, as ʻOumuamua receded from the sun, it accelerated, just slightly but measurably. Comets do this, propelled by the sublimation of ice. But ʻOumuamua had shown no tail, no coma, no vapour at all. The force propelling it remained invisible. For a brief feverish season, the scientific world wrestled with the possibility that ʻOumuamua was not merely a rock or a comet, but something more. Perhaps a light sail, perhaps debris from an alien civilization. Most dismissed the notion, but the seed had been planted. The sky was no longer silent. Then came Borisov, in late 2019. Unlike ʻOumuamua, Borisov behaved exactly as a comet should. It was icy, volatile, and spectacularly ordinary in its behaviour. As it neared the sun, it flared into brilliance, trailing a tail that stretched across the stars. It shed gas, dust, and colour, unmistakably cometary in nature. Borisov reassured astronomers that interstellar visitors could indeed be natural, familiar, comprehensible. It was exotic in origin, but mundane in form. A fragment from another planetary nursery flung loose and wandering just like comets from our own system. So the tally stood, one strange, one ordinary, a scout and a snowball, a question and an answer. The cosmos had shown both faces, mystery and familiarity, and then Three-Eye Atlas. From the start, it seemed to fall somewhere between the two. Like ʻOumuamua, its brightness flickered irregularly, hinting at an elongated or unstable shape. Like Borisov, it was faintly cometary, but only in the weaker sense, as though reluctant to admit it carried ice at all. It displayed neither the wild acceleration of ʻOumuamua nor the luminous tail of Borisov. It was something else, something between a third note in a melody we had just begun to hear. Pause for a moment and imagine the timeline. For centuries, not a single interstellar object was known. Then, within the span of only 3 years, 3 of them crossed our awareness. Think of the odds. Space is vast beyond comprehension. Distances between stars stretch for light years. The number of objects wandering the galaxy is immense, but the chance of one intersecting Earth's tiny neighbourhood is small. And yet here they came, like beads on a string, as though the universe had been holding back and then suddenly decided to speak. What are the chances? One might shrug and call it coincidence, but the human mind struggles with coincidence when patterns begin to emerge. One messenger could be luck. 2 could be the beginnings of a story. 3 feels like intent, like rhythm, like the first beats of a drum in the darkness. Astronomers tried to compare their properties more systematically. ʻOumuamua, estimated at a few hundred meters, strangely reflective, elongated. Borisov, several kilometers in size, with all the hallmarks of a comet. Atlas, again a few hundred meters, faint, muted, ambiguous. Each one different, each one a riddle. Some noted that ʻOumuamua and Atlas were both smaller, more enigmatic, less easily categorized. Some whispered that perhaps Borisov was the outlier, the normal one, a red herring, while ʻOumuamua and Atlas represented a stranger category of visitor altogether. Objects that did not conform to natural explanations. Objects that might, if one allowed the imagination to wander, be more than inert rock. It is worth pausing to consider the scale of the cosmos again. Imagine the Milky Way as a vast ocean, and each star as an island scattered across it. Around each island, debris, asteroids, comets, fragments of birth and death. Every so often these fragments are thrown outward, exiled from their home systems, cast into the interstellar sea. They drift, alone, for millions or billions of years. That much we expect. But when such fragments arrive here, they carry with them the fingerprints of their origins. They are samples from other worlds, unbidden and priceless. ʻOumuamua suggested a world where objects could be strange, elongated and volatile in ways we had never imagined. Borisov confirmed that other systems give rise to comets just as ours does. And Atlas suggested something else, that there may be types of objects we have not yet conceived, whose behaviour resists the categories of asteroid and comet alike. In cosmic context, then, Atlas matters not merely as a curiosity, but as part of a growing chorus. It tells us that our solar system is not isolated, not unique, but porous, open to visitors. The barriers between stars are not walls, but thin veils, and through those veils things pass, things that remind us how little we know. Step outside once more in your imagination. The night sky is vast above you, unbroken, but now picture it not as empty, but as a flowing current. Stars are islands, planets are shores, and in between them the drift of countless exiles. You are standing on one beach, looking outward, and every so often debris washes up. Some of it is ordinary driftwood. Some of it is strange, carved in ways you do not understand. And when you begin to see not one, but many such arrivals, you start to wonder, is the ocean empty, or is it carrying something toward you? In the history of astronomy, patterns are everything. The motions of the planets revealed the laws of gravity. The flickering of stars revealed nuclear furnaces within. And now the arrival of interstellar visitors reveals something too, that the galaxy is not still but restless. Objects flow between stars, messengers arrive, and among them, some may carry questions we're not ready to answer. For the scientist, Atlas is a puzzle of data, brightness curves, trajectories, compositions. For the dreamer, it is a question whispered in the night. What else drifts through the darkness unseen? And for the listener, lying in bed beneath the quiet sky, it is a reminder. The cosmos is not distant but close, not silent but speaking. And so, in cosmic context, 3i Atlas is not just the third, it is the continuation of a pattern, a note in a melody that began with ʻOumuamua, deepened with Borisov, and now swells with a new chord, a melody that may yet grow louder, more insistent, until we cannot ignore it. For now, though, astronomers keep their vigil. Telescopes track the faint light, data pours in, and the comparisons continue. And in those comparisons the realization dawns. Atlas is different. Not wholly like ʻOumuamua, not wholly like Borisov. A third kind, a third category. And perhaps, in that difference lies the beginning of something larger than we dare imagine. Because the first anomaly was already waiting. The first hint that the delta did not merely describe something natural, but something that might require a different kind of explanation. And so, as the weeks passed and the numbers sharpened, a cliffhanger began to form. Atlas was not what it seemed. It was not simply another rock. Something in the data whispered of contradiction, of impossibility. Something that would force astronomers to confront the unsettling truth. Sometimes, the universe does not obey the rules we thought it did. And that, dear listener, is where the story begins to bend. In science, anomalies are where stories begin. They are the cracks in the glass, the places where light bends strangely, where the universe seems to whisper that something has slipped past our understanding. With 3 Atlas, the first anomaly arrived quietly, embedded in the data like a seed waiting to grow. At first it seemed minor, a flicker, a deviation, a subtle inconsistency. But as the nights passed and the measurements multiplied, the seed began to sprout into something undeniable. The anomaly lay in the light curve. Astronomers measure brightness not only to determine size, but to track rotation, surface texture, and composition. A smooth, spherical object reflects light evenly, dimming and brightening only as distance changes. An irregular object flickers as it tumbles, producing a rhythm of brightness peaks and valleys, like the beat of a cosmic drum. With 3i Atlas, the rhythm was wrong. Its light curve fluctuated in ways that could not be explained by simple rotation. The brightness did not follow a predictable pattern. Instead, it seemed to vary chaotically, sometimes brightening too quickly, sometimes dimming as though shadows passed across its surface. Models that should have worked, elongated ellipsoid, tumbling shard, roughened rock, failed to fit the data. It was as though the object were changing shape, or altering its surface reflectivity as it moved. This alone might have been dismissed as noise, an artifact of observation. But paired with other measurements, it became more troubling. For instance, there was the question of composition. Spectral analysis, the breakdown of light into its component colours, revealed odd signatures, Not clearly icy, not clearly rocky, but something between. Some wavelengths suggested metals, others hinted at silicates, but nothing was decisive. It was as though the surface were a patchwork, or as if the spectrum itself resisted clear interpretation. And then there was the matter of outgassing. A comet heated by the sun releases gas. Jets of vapour spurt from its surface, pushing it slightly off course. This was how scientists explained ʻOumuamua's mysterious acceleration. Yet when they looked for similar evidence in 3 Atlas, they found almost nothing. At times, faint traces of gas were detected, but inconsistently, and never in amounts large enough to account for the brightness variations. It was a paradox. Too quiet to be a comet, too erratic to be an asteroid. The third anomaly was more subtle, but more haunting. Trajectory irregularities. Precise tracking showed that Atlas did not move in a perfectly smooth hyperbolic arc. Tiny deviations emerged, nudges in its path that did not line up with gravitational expectations. They were small, fractions of a fraction of a degree, but enough to raise eyebrows. These shifts could not easily be explained by radiation pressure or gas jets. Something else was at work, though no one could say what. Put together, these threads began to form a tapestry of unease, a light curve that resisted explanation, a spectrum that whispered contradictions, a trajectory that bent against prediction. Alone, each might have been ignored. Together, they demanded attention. Astronomers are cautious people. They do not leap to conclusions. When faced with anomalies, they search first for natural explanations, instrumental error, atmospheric interference, data processing quirks. All were considered. Yet as more observatories across the globe contributed their measurements, the anomalies remained. Different telescopes, different nights, same results. The object itself was the source of the strangeness. Pause here and let yourself imagine the scene. A research team sits around a table, papers spread, screens glowing. Graphs of brightness flicker across laptops. Numbers scroll in spreadsheets. Someone frowns, leans forward, points. It shouldn't look like this. The room grows quiet. Coffee cups are lifted and forgotten. Outside, the night sky is steady and indifferent, but inside, tension hums like an electric wire. Something has arrived from beyond the stars and it refuses to behave. For the layperson, these anomalies might seem abstract. But to those trained in the language of the cosmos, they were thunderclaps. Because science is built on the premise that nature is consistent. Laws of motion, laws of light, laws of matter. They apply everywhere, across all of space and time. When an object defies those laws, even in small ways, it is as though a familiar map suddenly sprouts a hole. Beneath the hole, a mystery we may not be ready to face. Some scientists recalled ʻOumuamua's unexplained acceleration and the speculation it sparked. Was Atlas repeating that enigma? Was this too evidence of something unnatural? The whispers began again, cautious, half joking at first. Could it be a probe? Could it be a fragment of technology? The majority dismissed such thoughts, insisting on natural explanations. Yet the fact remained. No natural model fully fit the data. To make matters stranger, one more detail began to emerge, so faint at first that many refused to believe it. Around the path of 3I Atlas, astronomers detected secondary signatures, tiny points of light, dim and fleeting, following in loose formation. They could have been background stars, coincidental alignments. They could have been noise, but as more data arrived, the suspicion grew. Atlas might not be alone. Could it be shedding fragments? Possibly. Comets do sometimes break apart, scattering smaller pieces along their trajectory. But these fragments behaved oddly, too stable, too consistent in their spacing. They followed like attendants, like a faint swarm in the darkness. Step outside again, in your imagination. The night's quiet, the air is cool. Above you faint stars shine in their timeless grid. But now, picture it, an object tumbling through space, larger than a mountain, stranger than a comet, and around it, a cluster of smaller shapes moving as though in escort, silent and deliberate. Imagine trying to tell yourself they are mere rocks, fragments of ice. Yet in the pit of your stomach, a different story begins to write itself. This was the first anomaly then. Not one contradiction, but a chorus of them. A light curve without rhythm, a spectrum without clarity, a path with subtle deviations, and perhaps, companions trailing in the dark. It was enough to unsettle even the most skeptical minds. Of course, science did what science always does. Papers were drafted, hypotheses proposed. Some suggested Atlas was an ultra-volatile body, venting gas in unpredictable bursts. Others argued for a metallic asteroid with reflective surfaces, its tumbling responsible for the flickers. A few proposed exotic ices, materials that behave strangely under stellar heat. Yet every theory carried holes. None could explain all anomalies at once. And so unease deepened? Because when nature refuses to be understood, imagination fills the void. Think of it as standing on a beach, finding a piece of driftwood carved into perfect angles. You tell yourself it is natural, shaped by waves. But the longer you stare, the more you wonder if someone shaped it. Atlas was such a piece of driftwood, delivered to us not by ocean waves but by the galactic tide. And as the data grew stranger, the question whispered louder. Is this nature's hand, or someone else's? Take a breath now. Inhale deeply, exhale slowly. Let your body relax. The night sky is steady above, the earth steady below. But remember, sometimes, in the quiet, anomalies slip through. Tiny, faint, but undeniable. And those anomalies are the places where the universe leans close, where the ordinary map of reality begins to ripple. With Atlas, the first ripple had appeared, and it would not be the last. Because soon, explanations would be proposed, natural, rational, comforting, and just as quickly they would begin to unravel. When faced with the unknown, the human mind reaches first for the familiar. It is a reflex born of survival. When you hear a rustle in the grass, you assume it is the wind, not a predator. When a light flickers in the distance, you assume it is a lantern, not a ghost. Science, too, begins with this reflex. Anomalies are approached with caution, explained if possible with what we already know. For Thrice Atlas, this was no different. After the first anomalies emerged, the irregular light curve, the strange spectrum, the subtle trajectory shifts, astronomers gathered their tools of reason. They proposed natural explanations, 3 main ones in particular. Each had merit, each fit some of the evidence, and yet, as you will see, none fit all. Theory 1, the fragmenting comet. The most straightforward explanation was that through Atlas was a fragmenting comet. Comets, after all, are fragile things. They are made of dust, rock, and volatile ice, loosely bound like cosmic snowballs. When heated by a star, they often fracture, shedding pieces that trail behind like a swarm of fireflies. The faint companions seen around Atlas could easily be such fragments. If Atlas were fragmenting, the irregular brightness might also be explained. As the body broke apart, new surfaces would be exposed, reflecting sunlight unpredictably. Jets of gas could burst from cracks, pushing it slightly off course. The whole object might tumble chaotically, its shape changing as pieces splintered away. There was precedent. In 1994, comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 broke into dozens of fragments, which later slammed into Jupiter in a fiery chain of impacts. More recently, Comet 332P Ikeya Murakami disintegrated into a cascade of shards, scattering across the sky. Why not Atlas, too? Perhaps this was simply another comet unravelling under the stress of the sun's heat. At first, many found this explanation satisfying. It accounted for the swarm-like companions. It accounted for the chaotic brightness. It accounted, at least partly, for the irregular trajectory. It placed Atlas within the familiar realm of comets, even if as an unusual case. And yet doubts lingered. For one, Atlas showed remarkably little outgassing compared to typical comets. Its companions did not appear as ragged or chaotic as expected, but strangely stable. And the spectrum, metallic hints, silicate hints, did not fit neatly into the profile of an icy body. It was as if the comet theory explained half the story, but left the other half untold. Theory 2, the metallic asteroid. A second theory held that 3I Atlas was not a comet at all, but a metallic asteroid. Unlike icy comets, metallic asteroids are dense, heavy, and highly reflective. Their surfaces can glint like mirrors, producing irregular brightness as they tumble. If Atlas was such a body, its strange light curve could be explained by polished planes catching the sunlight in uneven rhythms. This theory also offered a way to account for the faint trajectory anomalies. A metallic surface could interact subtly with solar radiation, experiencing radiation pressure in unusual ways. Think of a sailboat on the sea, nudged by every gust of wind. The more reflective the sail, the more it responds. Perhaps Atlas was like that. A gleaming shard of metal pushed slightly by the solar wind, its path bending in ways that mimicked intentional motion. There was precedent here too. In our own solar system, asteroids like Psyche contain high percentages of nickel and iron. If such a body were ejected from another system, it might resemble Atlas, a wandering shard of ancient planetary core stripped bare and cast adrift. Again, the explanation was tempting. It fit the light curve. It offered a natural account for the trajectory shifts. It placed Atlas in a category we already knew, asteroid, not alien. And yet problems arose. The spectrum was not cleanly metallic, but confused. And if it were purely metallic, why the faint hints of outgassing at all? Why the suggestion of companions following behind, when asteroids rarely fragment in such orderly ways? Like the comet theory, the asteroid theory explained much, but not all. Theory 3, the exotic ice hypothesis. The third explanation reached deeper into imagination, but still within the bounds of nature. Some proposed that 3 Atlas was made of exotic ices, materials not commonly found in our solar system, but perhaps abundant elsewhere. One candidate was hydrogen ice. If Atlas were composed largely of frozen hydrogen, it could sublimate invisibly under the sun's heat. Hydrogen gas is colourless, producing no bright coma. Its outgassing could create thrust, altering the trajectory subtly without leaving a visible trail. This might explain both the irregular path and the lack of a visible tail. Another candidate was nitrogen ice, similar to the surface composition of Pluto. Such an object might shed material in strange ways, its brightness flickering as patches of nitrogen vaporized. Over long time scales, it might even represent the fragment of a distant exoplanet's surface, chipped away and set adrift by some ancient collision. The exotic ice hypothesis was bold, but it had elegance. It explained the lack of visible coma. It explained the faint but real trajectory anomalies. It explained why Atlas resisted simple classification. But again, doubts. Hydrogen ice, for instance, is fragile. Could such a body survive the millions of years needed to travel between stars? Many argued it could not. It would sublimate long before arriving. Nitrogen ice was more plausible, but still rare, and neither fully explained the swarm-like companions or the irregular, seemingly chaotic light curve, the limits of comfort. So the theories multiplied: fragmenting comet, metallic asteroid, exotic ice. Each carried merit. Each explained part of the puzzle, yet none was whole. Each left gaps, cracks through which unease seeped. In the end, mainstream science settled into an uneasy balance. Official papers leaned toward the comet hypothesis, noting fragmentation and faint outgassing. Others entertained the metallic or exotic models, but none could claim victory. The truth remained veiled. For the public, these debates barely registered. Most news outlets framed Atlas as simply another interstellar rock, a curiosity, a footnote after ʻOumuamua and Borisov. Few lingered on the anomalies. Few asked why no theory fit cleanly. But in observatories, in conference calls, in quiet offices lit by the glow of screens, the questions simmered. Because astronomers know, the universe rarely hands us anomalies by accident. When something refuses to fit, it often means we are missing something deeper, a missing piece of knowledge, or a missing assumption, or perhaps the possibility that what we are seeing is not natural at all. Take a slow breath now. Inhale, exhale. Let the tension slide away. Look upward in your imagination, the stars steady, eternal, calming. Remember, the earth spins on, life goes on, the visitor passes quietly. But tucked within its silence, questions remain. Questions that do not fade with time but grow sharper with each failed explanation. For soon the comforting theories would begin to unravel. And the thought no one wished to say aloud, that this object might not be entirely natural, would creep back into the room, soft as a shadow. And once spoken, such thoughts cannot easily be unspoken. In science there is a rhythm. Propose, test, discard, refine. Ideas rise, shine briefly, and then fade when the data refuses to bend. With 3 Atlas, this rhythm repeated, but the usual comfort was missing. For every theory, every natural explanation, there was a counterweight, a flaw, a contradiction, a reminder that the universe was not so easily tamed. Astronomers first clung to the fragmenting comet hypothesis. It had the ring of familiarity. Comets fragment often. They split, scatter, crumble, and leave behind trails of shards. The faint companions seen with Atlas fit that story at first glance, but closer inspection pulled at the threads. In a typical cometary breakup, fragments drift erratically, moving in unpredictable arcs, scattering unevenly. Atlas's companions, however, seemed strangely well spaced, trailing with a stability that resisted the messy chaos of natural fragmentation. It was as though they were arranged or shepherded or bound by some faint unseen order. Worse still, the level of outgassing was far too low. A comet breaking apart bleeds vapour into the void, lighting up with the glow of sublimated ices. Yet Atlas remained muted, its tail, if it could even be called that, faint to the point of invisibility. It was a paradox. Fragments without fury, companions without chaos, a comet without the spectacle of a comet. The model held for a moment, then collapsed under its own weight. The second explanation, the metallic asteroid, offered a firmer foundation. A reflective shard of iron-nickel tumbling might explain the irregular light curve. The mirror-like surfaces could flash sunlight unpredictably, accounting for the strange flickers that puzzled astronomers. And solar radiation pressure might indeed nudge such a body off course, producing the subtle trajectory anomalies observed. But again, the cracks widened. If Atlas were metallic, why did spectral readings whisper of ices and silicates? Why the faint, inconsistent signatures of outgassing? Metal bodies do not vent gas. Metal bodies do not carry companions trailing in their wake. And even if radiation pressure acted on it, the observed deviations were too pronounced for the explanation to hold, without assuming a surface far thinner, far lighter than any known asteroid. To cling to this theory was to imagine Atlas as something more like a sheet than a shard, a wafer-thin reflector adrift in space. That possibility, whispered in conferences, raised eyebrows. For if nature rarely sculpts such shapes, who, or what, does? The asteroid model too frayed. The third contender, the exotic ice hypothesis, carried its own elegance. Hydrogen ice, nitrogen ice, even carbon monoxide ice. These exotic materials might sublimate invisibly, producing thrust without visible trails. The subtle acceleration, the path anomalies, could be explained this way. It was neat, tidy, and scientifically daring. But the deeper astronomers looked, the less likely it became. Hydrogen ice is fragile. Across millions of years of interstellar exposure, it should have evaporated long before reaching our solar system. Nitrogen ice is sturdier, but rare. It might exist as shards from exoplutos, chipped loose by cosmic collisions. But how many such shards could realistically find their way here, across the gulfs of time and space? And if Atlas were nitrogen ice, why the metallic whispers in its spectrum? Why the companions trailing with improbable order? The exotic ice theory flickered brightly for a moment, like a candle in the wind, then guttered out. So the theories fell away one by one like masks stripped from a face. What remained was the unease beneath. To the public, headlines simplified the story. Astronomers debate origins of third interstellar object. But behind those headlines, in late-night emails and hushed conference discussions, the truth was admitted. None of the models worked. Atlas was not a comet in any conventional sense, not an asteroid, not an exotic shard of ice. It was something else. It is here that we must pause, not to solve the puzzle, but to linger in its discomfort. Because this is the part of the story where the mind resists. We want explanations. We crave them. A fragmenting comet comforts us, because we know comets. A metallic asteroid soothes us, because we know asteroids. Even exotic ice fits within the laws of chemistry and physics. But when every model fails, when every natural framework cracks, what is left? A void. And into that void, speculation begins to seep. Imagine, for a moment, being one of the scientists staring at this data. You are rational, trained, cautious. You have built your life on the belief that nature can be understood. And yet here is an object that refuses. You sit in a quiet observatory, the hum of machines around you, a graph glowing on the screen. The line of brightness does not match the model. You adjust the parameters, shift the assumptions. Still, it does not fit. The object spins in your mind as chaotically as it spins in space. Outside, the stars shine in silence. You step out for air, look up and remind yourself. It is only rock, only ice, only debris. But in the back of your mind, another voice speaks. What if it isn't? And once that thought enters, it does not leave. There is something almost theatrical about how Atlas dismantled each explanation. It did not shatter them outright, but eroded them slowly, piece by piece, until confidence crumbled. Like water seeping through stone, it undermined certainty from below. For the comet model, it withheld the expected spectacle. For the asteroid model, it whispered hints of ice. For the exotic ice model, it clung too long to stability. Every time scientists thought they had grasped it, it slipped away, leaving only fragments of doubt. This is the rhythm of the unknown. Approach, explain, fail, retreat. And with each failure, unease grows. The data does not simply defy understanding, it invites another kind of interpretation, one that science resists but the imagination embraces. Breathe now, inhale, exhale. Let the tension soften. Look upward in your imagination. The stars are steady, the night is calm, and yet hidden within that calm is a single visitor, tumbling and flickering, refusing to be explained. It drifts above us like a question, unanswered, perhaps unanswerable, debunking the natural theories left astronomers where they least wished to be, on the edge of speculation, beyond the boundary of comfort, the place where explanations falter and only possibilities remain. For from here the story would shift, from comets and asteroids to something more daring, from the familiar to the speculative, from science to imagination. And once that pivot begins, it cannot be undone. Before we move further into uncertainty, let us pause. Let us step back from the graphs, from the anomalies, from the restless whisper of data that refuses to fit. Let us set aside the hum of observatories, the glow of screens, the questions that multiply like shadows. For a moment, let us return to the simplest thing of all, the night sky itself. Imagine yourself outside, away from the noise of cities, far from the glare of street lamps and neon. Perhaps you are standing in a field, or on a mountain ridge, or by the silent shore of the sea. The ground beneath you is cool, the air crisp against your skin. Above, the sky stretches vast and unbroken, a canopy of darkness scattered with fire. The stars are countless. They appear still, but in truth they are racing, burning, orbiting, drifting across the galactic tide. And yet to your eyes they remain fixed, eternal, silent guardians of the night. Each one is a sun, immense and burning, its light travelling years, centuries, millennia to arrive here, now to fall upon your gaze. You're not simply looking at stars, you're looking into the past, into the deep well of time. Take a slow breath. Notice how the air feels as it enters your lungs. Notice how the silence around you grows thick, as though the world itself is holding its breath. The concerns of the day, the noise, the hurry, the weight of human life fade into the background. All that remains is the sky, endless and serene. Do you feel small? That is natural. Beneath this vastness, every human life is a flicker. Earth itself is a grain of dust suspended in a sunbeam, fragile and fleeting. The galaxies above are oceans, and we are but droplets. Yet there is comfort in this smallness too. To be small is to be free of burden, to rest against the immensity of the cosmos and know that its weight does not rest upon your shoulders. You're a guest here, a momentary traveller in a universe that has seen countless suns born and extinguished, countless worlds rise and fall. If you listen closely, you might almost hear the silence, not the absence of sound, but a presence, deep, resonant, like the stillness of a cathedral. In this silence, your mind settles, your breath slows, your thoughts drift like clouds across a dark horizon. Look again at the stars. Imagine them not as scattered points, but as a great ocean of light. Between each, gulfs of darkness stretch wider than imagination can contain. And yet, across those gulfs, things move. Rocks, dust, comets, asteroids, messengers cast adrift, wandering endlessly. Rarely, very rarely, one of these wanderers brushes close enough to be seen. Rarer still, they carry anomalies, riddles, questions that stir our deepest fears and hopes. But here, now, let us set aside the riddles. Let us not worry about Atlas, about its companions or its contradictions. Instead, let us let the sky simply be. For there is healing in this simplicity. There is calm in knowing that, whatever mysteries may unfold, the stars will continue to burn, the earth will continue to spin, and the night will continue to enfold us in its endless arms. Close your eyes for a moment and picture the Earth itself from space. A blue sphere turning silently, wrapped in a thin veil of atmosphere. Clouds drift across continents. Oceans glisten with moonlight. From this distance, there are no borders, no conflicts, no noise. Only a fragile, glowing world afloat in darkness. That world cradles you, holds you, sustains you. Feel its presence beneath you now, steady and enduring. Now widen your vision further. Picture the solar system, planets circling the sun in slow, graceful arcs. Mercury, scorched and airless. Venus, cloaked in toxic cloud. Mars, rust-red and silent. Jupiter, a stormy giant with moons like miniature worlds. Saturn, adorned with rings of ice. Uranus and Neptune, cold and distant guardians of the outer reaches. And beyond them, the Kuiper Belt, a halo of icy debris. And then, further still, the interstellar void. Dark, immense, without end. Into that void our little system drifts like a lantern in an infinite night. Across that night, other lanterns glow, other stars, other worlds, other mysteries. It is across this void that through Atlas came and will one day vanish again. But the void itself is timeless, endless, serene. There is a strange comfort in this vision. The problems of Earth seem small set against the galactic canvas. The visitor Atlas seems small too, a single shard among billions. In the great sweep of time it will pass, as all things pass. And still the stars will shine. Still the night will whisper, still you will breathe in and out, carried by the rhythm of a universe too vast to measure. Pause here. Let your shoulders relax. Let the muscles of your face soften. Feel the steady beat of your heart. Feel the weight of your body resting against the bed, the chair, the ground. You are safe. You are held. You are part of something far larger than yourself, something that does not ask for explanation, only for presence. Look up one last time at the sky in your mind's eye. Notice how it stretches without limit. How every direction holds more stars, more light, more distance. The cosmos is not a wall, but a horizon, ever receding, ever expanding. You will never reach its end. No one will. And yet, it reaches you. Its light falls upon your eyes. Its silence cradles your thoughts. Its immensity lulls you toward rest. In this stillness, you might almost forget the mystery of Atlas. Almost. But not entirely. Because somewhere out there, beyond the reach of your sight, the visitor is still tumbling, still flickering, still carrying its unanswered questions. And soon, when the calm fades and curiosity stirs again, we will return to it. We will step back into the data, into the anomalies, into the speculation that awaits beyond the limits of science. But not yet. For now, breathe, rest, let the night hold you. The stars are patient, the mysteries will wait. When you are ready, we will follow Atlas once more, and from here the road will bend, away from the safety of natural explanations into the uncharted territory of speculation. But first, let yourself drift. Drift as Atlas drifts. Drift as the Earth drifts. Drift as the stars drift endlessly across the sea of darkness. You're not lost. You're simply part of the voyage. There comes a moment in every investigation of the unknown when the rules begin to bend. For days, weeks, even months, scientists wrestled with the data from 3i Atlas, testing theories, refining models, comparing notes. Each explanation had its season of confidence, each was defended, and each in turn eroded. By the time the debates began to quiet, the mood had changed. It was not despair exactly. Scientists do not despair when faced with the unexplained. But there was a heaviness in the air, a recognition that the tools of ordinary science had been exhausted. The comet model collapsed. The asteroid model faltered. The exotic ice model, elegant though it was, dissolved under scrutiny. None of them accounted for everything. None explained the light curve, the spectral contradictions, the subtle deviations in trajectory, the faint companions trailing like attendants in the dark. What remained was silence, and into that silence a sentence began to creep, spoken first in private, in half-joking tones, then whispered more seriously in late-night conversations. What if it isn't natural at all? Science resists this pivot. The framework of modern astronomy is built on the assumption that the universe is understandable, that every object is governed by natural law. To suggest otherwise feels dangerous, even irresponsible. But the human mind does not stop where data ends. When the familiar fails, imagination awakens, and so, standing at the threshold, we must acknowledge where we are. We have followed Atlas from its discovery to its anomalies. We have tested comets, asteroids, exotic ices. We have watched them fail. And now, if we wish to continue, we must step beyond the comfort of conventional science. Pause here. Breathe. The night sky above you is steady, indifferent, eternal. You're safe. You're small, yes, but you're also part of a species that dares to ask questions, even when answers feel forbidden. From this point forward, we enter the realm of speculation. Not fantasy, but speculation. A weaving of possibility upon the threads of fact. A recognition that the universe is larger than our categories, that what we see may be only the faintest shadow of what is. Imagine the object again, 3 Atlas drifting through the dark, a body hundreds of meters across, tumbling chaotically, glinting faintly in the sunlight. Around it, companions, fragments perhaps, or something else, trailing in silent formation. Its path is hyperbolic, its stay brief. Already it is racing toward the outer reaches of our solar system, soon to vanish again into the void. What is it truly? We no longer need to pretend we know. Instead we ask, what could it be? Some astronomers, when pressed, acknowledged the echoes of ʻOumuamua. The first interstellar visitor too had defied explanation. It had accelerated without a visible tail, as though pushed by something unseen. A handful of voices, most famously Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb, dared to suggest it might be artificial. An alien probe, a discarded light sail, a piece of technology from another civilization. The idea was met with skepticism, even ridicule, but it lingered. Now with Atlas the whispers returned. The similarities were too strong. A small, elongated, tumbling body, a path that bent in subtle, unexplained ways, a refusal to conform to the categories of comet or asteroid. Once might be chance. Twice felt like pattern. Could both objects be natural oddities, freak examples of exotic chemistry and strange collisions? Perhaps. But some began to wonder, what if they were not oddities at all? What if they were representatives of something more? Step outside again, into your imagination. Look upward at the stars. They are countless, spread across the sky like salt scattered on velvet. Among them are billions of worlds, some dead, some alive, some perhaps carrying civilizations far older than our own. If such civilizations exist, would they not explore? Would they not send probes, scouts, messengers into the void? And if they did, might those messengers resemble what we see in Atlas and ʻOumuamua? Slender, tumbling, faintly reflective, drifting silently from star to star? It is a question that cannot yet be answered, but it is one we must allow ourselves to ask. From here, the tone shifts. We leave behind the cautious comfort of comet and asteroid. We enter a landscape where speculation is not only allowed, but required. We ask, what if Atlas is not merely rock or ice, but something more deliberate? What if it carries within it traces of design? What if the faint companions are not shards of debris, but something else entirely? This is the pivot point. The place where science hands us mystery, and imagination takes the lead. The place where the night sky, once serene, becomes a stage on which stories larger than ourselves may be unfolding. Breathe again, inhale, exhale. Feel your body relax. Let the stars above soothe you. Remember, we are only speculating. We are only imagining. The universe is vast and we are small, but sometimes, in the stillness of the night, it is good to let the mind wander, to ask questions that stir the heart as well as the intellect. From here, the journey deepens. We will follow the thread of speculation into stranger territory. Probes, civilizations, relics, even the possibility of cosmic warning. We will walk the edge between awe and unease, between science and myth. But tonight, at this moment, let us stand on the threshold and acknowledge the turning. The safe explanations are behind us. Ahead lies something else. An Atlas, tumbling silently through the dark, is waiting. When science pauses at the edge of the known, the imagination steps forward. And so we ask, if 3 Atlas is not simply rock or ice, then what might it be? The first and most daring speculation is also the simplest. An artifact. A fragment of technology, sent by hands or minds, far older than ours. Perhaps a probe, dispatched across the stars. Perhaps debris, the wreckage of some greater machine. broken and adrift. In either case, it would mean this. Atlas is not merely a messenger of nature, but a messenger of civilization. The probe hypothesis. Consider the probe. If we, a species barely a century into spaceflight, have already sent out emissaries, Voyager, Pioneer, New Horizons, then what might a civilization a million years older have done? We send probes to explore the nearest planets. They might send probes to explore the nearest stars. Not one or two, but thousands, millions, spread like spores across the galaxy. A probe designed for interstellar travel would not look like the machines we build today. It would not carry gleaming solar panels or fragile antennae. Those would not survive the aeons of drifting through interstellar voids. Instead, it might be compact, streamlined, built to endure. It might be elongated to minimize collisions with dust. It might tumble to distribute wear evenly. It might be coated in reflective materials, glinting irregularly in starlight. Does this sound familiar? It should. It sounds like Atlas. And what of the faint companions, the swarm that trails behind? Perhaps they are not fragments at all. Perhaps they are smaller probes, escorts, parts of a system designed to travel together. Or perhaps they are debris, remnants of earlier activity, like sparks trailing behind a torch. If Atlas is a probe, what is its purpose? Exploration is the obvious answer. It could be surveying, scanning, cataloguing as our Voyagers do now, or perhaps it is a seed, carrying genetic material designed to spread life. Or perhaps it is something stranger still, an ancient warning buoy drifting silently, waiting to be found. The unsettling truth is this. If it is a probe, then it may not matter whether we detect it or not. It may have already detected us. The debris hypothesis. And yet, there is another possibility. What if Atlas is not a probe, but debris? The shattered remnant of a machine long dead. A relic of a civilization that no longer exists. Imagine, for a moment, a great starship, crossing the gulfs between suns. Imagine its hull struck by collisions, its systems failing until at last it shatters, scattering fragments across the interstellar dark. Over millions of years those fragments drift, some lost forever, some falling into alien systems like ours. Atlas could be such a shard, a piece of technology stripped of function, tumbling without purpose. Its irregular brightness would then be the glint of broken surfaces, polished by cosmic dust. Its faint companions would be other fragments, trailing behind in loose formation. Its spectral contradictions, metal and ice, rock and void, would be the signature of composite materials, manufactured, not natural. This idea is no less haunting than the probe hypothesis. For if Atlas is debris, it means civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy, leaving behind only ruins. It means we are not the first to build, to explore, to dream. It means we may not be the last to vanish. The timescale of the galaxy, whichever hypothesis you choose, probe or debris, it requires that we stretch our minds across immense timescales. The Milky Way is over 13 billion years old. Our species has existed for only a few 100,000. Our civilization, in its technological form, for only a few centuries. We are infants in a universe of ancients. If another species reached spacefaring maturity even a million years before us, it would have had time to fill the galaxy with its messengers. A million years is nothing compared to the age of the stars. And so, if probes are scattered across the galaxy, drifting like seeds on the wind, we should expect to see them. Rarely, but not never. Perhaps ʻOumuamua was one. Perhaps Atlas is another. Perhaps there are countless more, passing unnoticed, their signatures lost in the vastness. The timescale of debris is no less staggering. Civilizations may rise, flourish, collapse, and leave their machines drifting for billions of years. Imagine a spacecraft launched when dinosaurs still walked the Earth, still wandering now, carrying within it the fingerprints of a world long gone. Multiply that across the galaxy, and the void becomes an archive, a graveyard of fragments, tumbling silently between the stars. The weight of possibility. Pause here. Step outside in your imagination once more. The night sky stretches above, quiet and eternal. The stars glow faintly, indifferent to your thoughts. And yet, hidden among them, an object drifts. Perhaps probe, perhaps debris, perhaps both, for even a probe may one day become debris, its purpose forgotten, its builders long vanished. Close your eyes and picture Atlas not as rock or ice but as machine, its surfaces once carved, its materials once forged. Now worn, ancient, scarred by time, tumbling through darkness with only the faintest glimmer of its former purpose. Imagine its companions not as fragments of ice but as other machines, still following, still obeying instructions written before humanity learned to walk upright. Do you feel the shiver? Not fear, but awe? The recognition that if this is true, then the universe is not empty, it is full. Full of stories older than our world, full of machines adrift, full of echoes waiting to be heard. The human mirror, speculating about probes and debris, is not merely about them, it is about us. For in Atlas we see a mirror of our own future. We too send probes. We too scatter machines into the void. Voyager drifts outward, its golden record carrying our voices, our music, our dreams. One day, perhaps millions of years hence, another civilization may find it. They may hold it in their hands and wonder, as we wonder now, who built this? Why? What became of them? Atlas may be another voyager, another pioneer, sent not by us but by someone else. Or it may be a shattered relic, proof that even civilizations far older than ours are not immortal. Either way, it tells us something profound, that across the dark civilizations speak. Not with words, but with artifacts. Not with voices, but with fragments. The galaxy is an archive, and we are learning slowly to read it. Take a breath now. Inhale, exhale. Let the weight of speculation settle gently, like dust on water. The night is calm. The earth is steady beneath you. Whatever Atlas may be, probe, debris, or something stranger, it is distant, harmless, passing. But the possibility it awakens lingers, because once you allow yourself to ask the question, what if it is not natural, you cannot unask it. Once you imagine a probe, drifting silently through the stars, or debris, tumbling from a long-dead world, you cannot forget it. The universe feels different. The night sky feels different. It no longer whispers of emptiness. It whispers of history, of presence, of stories yet untold. And so, the pivot is complete. We have stepped beyond science into speculation. We have dared to imagine Atlas as more than rock, more than ice. We have asked whether it might be machine, or relic, or message. The road from here grows stranger still. For if Atlas is probe or debris, then what kind of civilization sent it? What scale of time, what level of technology, what purpose lies behind it? And what does that say about us, about our place in the great expanse of the galaxy? Those questions await. For now, look upward once more. The stars are steady, the night is calm, the visitor drifts silently above, carrying its secrets, and we, here below, are left to wonder. When you allow yourself to imagine that 3i Atlas might be more than mere stone or ice, the horizon of thought expands. The question is no longer only what is it, but also who made it. For if this object is probe or debris, then somewhere, sometime, there must have been a civilization capable of creating it. And that realization carries implications as vast as the galaxy itself. The timescale of builders. Begin with time. Our species has known fire for perhaps 1,000,000 years, agriculture for 10,000, electricity for 200, spaceflight for barely 60. In a geological heartbeat, we leapt from stone tools to radio telescopes. If this is what we achieved in such a short span, imagine what another species might achieve in 1,000,000 years, 10 million, 1 billion. Atlas could be that old. Older than our species, older than humanity's first spark of language. It may have been drifting through the galaxy when our ancestors were no more than upright apes. Its builders could have risen and fallen long before the Earth's continents settled into their present shapes. We are not used to thinking in such spans, but the galaxy demands it. The implication is sobering. Civilizations may be common, but their lifespans fragile. They rise, scatter artifacts like seeds, then vanish. What we see may be not a message, but a relic. Not a conversation, but an echo. The scale of technology. Next, consider the technology required. To launch a probe between stars is no small feat. Even our fastest machines would take tens of thousands of years to reach the nearest star. For a probe to travel not only that distance, but millions of years through the galaxy, requires durability beyond our comprehension. Materials that do not corrode, systems that endure, designs that outlast civilizations. If Atlas is such a probe, it implies engineering so advanced it becomes indistinguishable from nature. What we mistake for rock and ice may be composites, alloys, mechanisms built to resemble inert matter. The tumbling may not be random, but a stabilizing pattern. The faint companions may not be debris, but autonomous escorts. The irregular light curve may be signaling or camouflage or both. If Atlas is debris, the implication is different but no less powerful. Even fragments that survive across aeons imply machines once vast, once durable, once beyond anything we have yet conceived. To leave behind relics that still wander the galaxy millions of years later is to build at a scale we can barely imagine. The question of purpose, and then purpose. Why send probes at all? Why scatter machines into the void? We know why we do it. Voyager, Pioneer, New Horizons. Our machines are emissaries, scouts, symbols of curiosity. They carry instruments to measure, cameras to record, records to speak for us. But we are young. Our motivations may not be theirs. Perhaps Atlas was built for exploration, to map the galaxy one star at a time. Perhaps it was built for seeding, to scatter the building blocks of life across empty worlds. Perhaps it was built for preservation, carrying data or memory or genetic code designed to outlive its makers. Or perhaps its purpose is something we cannot yet conceive, rooted in a philosophy alien to ours. If Atlas is debris, then its purpose was once larger but is now lost. It may have been part of a fleet, a vessel, a structure beyond comprehension. What it meant to be is irrelevant now. What remains is only the husk. Yet even a husk carries meaning. It tells us that someone was here, that someone built, that someone endured long enough to send artifacts into the dark. Civilizations beyond silence. The implications ripple outward. For if Atlas is probe or relic, then we are not alone. And if we are not alone, then the silence of the stars takes on new meaning. Perhaps civilizations do not speak with radio waves, as we imagined. Perhaps they speak with artifacts scattered across the void, silent machines, drifting, waiting. What if the galaxy is not empty, but littered with probes? What if interstellar space is not barren, but an archive of civilizations past? We do not hear voices because we are listening for the wrong thing. We are waiting for broadcasts, while the real messages tumble past as stones, fragments, shadows mistaken for comets. The implication is staggering. The universe may already be alive with presence. We may already be surrounded by artifacts. We simply have not yet learned to see them. The mirror of humanity. Speculating about alien civilizations is also speculating about ourselves. If Atlas is probe, then one day our probes too may become relics. Voyager is already on that path, sailing into the interstellar dark, carrying our music, our greetings, our map of the stars. Millions of years from now, long after humanity has changed or vanished, Voyager may still drift, a shard of our existence, waiting to be found. When another species encounters it, what will they think? They will measure its trajectory, its brightness, its spectrum. They will note the anomalies, the contradictions. They will argue over whether it is comet, asteroid, or something stranger. Perhaps they too will whisper late at night, "What if it isn't natural?" Atlas then may be another species Voyager, or another species debris. It may be to us what our machines will one day be to others. And in that mirror we glimpse both our fragility and our endurance. We see ourselves as part of a cosmic cycle of builders and finders, senders and receivers, civilizations rising and falling, leaving only fragments to mark their passage. The emotional implication, and finally there is the emotional weight. To imagine Atlas as probe or relic is to feel both awe and sorrow. Awe, because it means we are not the first. Others have walked the path we now walk, scattering machines into the void. Sorrow, because it suggests that they may be gone, their voices silenced, their only legacy the objects that drift in darkness. It is a strange comfort to know we are not alone, and a strange grief to know that others may have vanished. Both truths can exist at once. Both are carried within the faint light of Atlas as it tumbles through our skies. Take a breath now. Inhale slowly, exhale gently. Let the weight of these possibilities rest lightly upon you. The night sky above remains calm, steady, eternal. The stars burn as they always have, indifferent to our questions. Yet within that indifference lies mystery, and within mystery, meaning. Atlas is only one object. It may be natural, it may be machine, it may be both. but the implications it awakens stretch across the galaxy. They remind us that we are not the centre, but a part, that we are not the first nor the last, but one note in a cosmic symphony. And so, we continue. From speculation about probes and debris, to speculation about civilizations themselves. Who were they? What were they like? And what does their silence teach us about our own future? The answers lie ahead, waiting like stars beyond the horizon. When archaeologists kneel in the dust of an ancient city, brushing away the soil from broken pottery or weathered stone, they are not only uncovering objects, they are uncovering time itself, fragments of stories, lives, and civilizations that once flourished and then fell silent. Each shard, each ruin, is a message across the centuries. We were here, we built, we dreamed. Now imagine extending that process across the galaxy. Not archaeology of the Earth, but cosmic archaeology. Instead of pottery, asteroids. Instead of stone walls tumbling interstellar objects. Instead of ruins buried in sand, relics drifting through the void. If 3 Atlas is more than rock or ice, then perhaps it is such a relic. A fragment of a civilization long extinct. A shard of cosmic history delivered to our doorstep by chance. Ruins in the dark. Civilizations rise and fall. We know this from our own history. The great cities of Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Mayans, the Indus Valley, all rose, thrived, and declined, leaving behind silent ruins. Time erases voices, but it leaves traces, and in those traces archaeologists reconstruct the lives of the vanished. The same may be true on a galactic scale. Civilizations among the stars may rise to greatness, scatter machines, build fleets, craft structures, and then collapse under the weight of time. The stars do not mourn them. The void does not preserve their cities, but fragments survive, machines drifting between stars, objects like Atlas. Imagine Atlas as a ruin in motion, a monument without inscription. It tumbles through our skies as the pyramids rise above the sand, silent, enduring, enigmatic. Its shape, its composition, its companions may be the weathered remains of technology so ancient that even its makers are dust, their home star perhaps dimmed or gone. A shard of extinction. If Atlas is the relic of a lost civilization, then its story may be one of extinction. Perhaps its builders reached across the galaxy, spreading probes, constructing wonders, and then vanished. A war, a plague, a cosmic catastrophe. Or perhaps simply the slow entropy of time, civilizations fading as inevitably as stars. Atlas could then be the shard of a vanished empire, tumbling forever as its builders are forgotten. A piece of technology surviving long after the hands that built it crumbled into dust. This possibility carries both sorrow and awe. Sorrow, because it suggests even great civilizations are not immortal. Awe, because it means we can still find their echoes, their fingerprints, their ruins, across the gulfs of space. To find Atlas is to stand before a galactic ruin, not of stone or clay, but of silence and motion. The archive of the galaxy. Archaeology is built on context. A shard of pottery is meaningless until placed within the ruins of a city, among tools and bones and walls. But in the galaxy, context is harder to find. A relic drifts alone, stripped of its world, its history erased by time. And yet, if Atlas is such a relic, it may not be alone in the larger sense. The galaxy may be littered with ruins, shards of machines, fragments of vessels, echoes of structures, scattered like pottery across an ancient desert. We have only begun to see them. ʻOumuamua, Borisov, Atlas. 3 in only a few years. How many more pass unseen, slipping through the solar system undetected, leaving only the faintest trace? If the galaxy is an archive, then Atlas is a page. A single page torn from a book older than Earth itself. We cannot yet read it, but the fact that it exists at all is enough to change the story of the cosmos. Lessons from our own ruins. Think of how we read our own ruins. From broken amphora, we learn of trade. From collapsed temples, of belief. From inscriptions, of language. Even when entire cultures vanish, their artifacts speak. They tell us what those people valued, what they built, what they feared. Atlas, if artifact, is no different. Its very endurance tells us its builders mastered materials that survive across millions of years. Its journey tells us they reached beyond their star, casting machines into the interstellar tide. Its ambiguity, part rock, part ice, part something else, tells us they built in ways that blend with nature, perhaps to endure, perhaps to hide. Just as a pot fragment reveals an ancient diet, Atlas reveals a glimpse of an alien capacity. And just as a ruin warns us of fragility, Atlas whispers the same. Civilizations rise, they scatter artifacts, and then they fall. The emotional weight of ruins. To walk among human ruins is to feel a ghostly presence. The walls are silent, but they remember voices. The stones are empty, but they remember footsteps. So too with Atlas. As we watch it drift, tumbling and glinting in the dark, we feel a similar presence, not literal ghosts but echoes, a suggestion that others were here before us, that the galaxy has been inhabited, explored, scarred by civilizations whose names we will never know. There is comfort in this thought, but unease too. Comfort, because it means we are not unique. Others have shared the dream of reaching beyond their world. Unease, because it means they are gone. Their probes survive, they do not. Their artifacts drift, their voices are silent, and in that silence is a warning. The warning in the ruins. Every ruin, whether of city or starship, carries a lesson. Nothing lasts forever. Not empires, not species, not worlds. Time is the patient destroyer, and all civilizations eventually fall. Atlas may be a reminder of this truth, delivered not across centuries but across galaxies. If it is artifact, then it is also warning. To endure, we must do more than build. We must learn to survive our own fragility, to outlast the forces that silence civilizations. For if others have fallen, so can we. The warning is not hopeless, though. To build artifacts that endure across millions of years is itself a triumph. It suggests that even if civilizations die, their presence can ripple forward, touching others as Atlas now touches us. Even extinction cannot erase the traces entirely. There will always be ruins. There will always be echoes. The human mirror once more. Think again of our own voyagers, drifting outward with their golden records. One day, they too will be ruins. Long after Earth has changed, long after continents shift and languages vanish, they will still wander, carrying traces of us. They may be found by others, or they may drift alone, but they will remain, as Atlas remains now. We are already writing our own cosmic archaeology. We are already leaving behind ruins for future minds to interpret. And perhaps, as we ponder Atlas, others will one day ponder Voyager, and in that exchange, silent, timeless, unintentional civilizations will speak. Take a breath. Inhale, exhale. The night sky above is steady, serene. The Earth is safe beneath you. The visitor, Atlas, continues its journey, indifferent to our questions, carrying its secrets. Whether rock or artifact, ruin or probe, it passes through our system like a message scrawled across the heavens. And the message may be this: you are not the first and you will not be the last. Atlas is not only a mystery, it is a mirror, a reminder that civilizations like stars rise and fall, leaving ruins in their wake. A reminder that we too are fragile, but that our echoes may endure. A reminder that the galaxy is not empty, but haunted by the relics of those who came before. And so, we continue. For the story is not finished. The anomalies align not only with natural failure, but with speculative possibility. And as we move forward, we will see how Atlas fits into a larger pattern, how its strangeness echoes others, and how, together these echoes may form not random noise, but a message. The ruins speak. If we listen, perhaps we can begin to understand. Science is a discipline of fragments. One observatory records a flicker of brightness. Another notes a deviation in trajectory. A third measures spectra that resist easy interpretation. Each fragment on its own is ambiguous, perhaps meaningless. But when fragments align, when patterns emerge, a larger picture begins to take shape. With 3i Atlas, the fragments accumulated quietly, a light curve irregular, as though the object's brightness were changing in ways too complex for simple geometry. A spectrum inconsistent, whispering of metals and silicates, but never declaring itself. A trajectory subtly off, bending against prediction, as though nudged by an unseen hand. Companions trailing, faint but stable, moving as though in formation. Each anomaly could, in isolation, be explained away. Noise, error, coincidence. But together they formed a tapestry, and in that tapestry a pattern began to emerge, one that natural models struggled to account for, but that speculative imagination embraced with ease. The failure of natural cohesion. Recall how natural theories collapsed one by one. The fragmenting comet explained the companions, but not their orderliness. It explained the irregular brightness, but not the lack of a bright coma. It explained some outgassing, but not its faint inconsistency. The metallic asteroid explained reflectivity, but not outgassing. It explained trajectory anomalies partially, but only by imagining wafer-thin geometries no natural body would form. It failed to explain the companions at all. The exotic ice hypothesis explained the invisible thrust, but not the metallic spectrum. It explained the subtle acceleration, but not the fragments trailing behind. It struggled with survivability. Hydrogen and nitrogen ices are fragile, unlikely to persist over millions of years. Each model was a patch, covering one wound but leaving another exposed. None covered all. And in the gaps left behind, the speculative models, probe, relic, artifact, began to feel less like fantasy and more like coherence. When speculation aligns, speculation has its own kind of logic. It does not require proof, but it seeks consistency. And when the anomalies of Atlas are viewed through the lens of speculation, the pieces begin to align. The irregular light curve, perhaps not random reflection, but the glint of engineered surfaces, once polished, now weathered by aeons of dust and radiation. Perhaps the tumbling itself is not chaotic, but intentional, a stabilizing pattern or camouflage to appear inert. The contradictory spectrum, a machine would carry composites, metals, silicates, alloys. It would not appear pure because it is not. What astronomers read as inconsistency may be the blurred fingerprint of design. The trajectory anomalies, easily explained if Atlas carries propulsion. Not engines as we imagine them, but subtle thrusts, perhaps radiation-driven, perhaps electromagnetic, perhaps something stranger. Even the faintest controlled push would separate it from purely natural motion, the companions trailing behind. Not debris, but escorts. Smaller probes, fragments of a system designed to travel together. Or, if relic, then shards that remain gravitationally bound, moving in eerie formation, like ruins drifting with their monument. Speculation weaves these fragments into a narrative. Not a definitive answer, but a possibility that explains more than natural models alone. Echoes of ʻOumuamua. The parallels with ʻOumuamua deepen the case. That first interstellar visitor too displayed irregular brightness, strange acceleration, no visible tail. It too refused categorization. Scientists bent over backwards to explain it. Hydrogen ice, nitrogen ice, fractal dust. Each theory elegant, each fragile, each leaving holes. Now Atlas arrives, and the anomalies echo once more. Is it coincidence that two of the only three interstellar objects we have seen both defy explanation? Is it chance that both resemble what we might expect of probes, elongated, tumbling, faintly controlled? Patterns matter. Once is anomaly, twice is suggestion, thrice will be declaration. And with Atlas the suggestion grows louder. Perhaps what we are seeing are not comets or asteroids at all, but something else entirely. The weight of probability. Skeptics argue, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and they are right. But probability has its own voice. Consider, billions of stars in the galaxy, billions of worlds, billions of years. If life arises, if civilizations endure, if technology spreads, then the odds are not against probes. They are for them. The galaxy should be littered with artifacts. The question is not whether they exist, but whether we notice. Atlas is faint. Its companions are faint. Its anomalies are subtle. It would be easy to miss. How many others passed unseen, their signatures lost against the background? How many more will come? If in only a few years we have seen two objects that resist natural explanation, perhaps that itself is the answer. Perhaps they are common. Perhaps the galaxy is already speaking and we're only just learning to hear. The psychological barrier. Why then do we resist? Why do scientists strain to fit Atlas into comet, asteroid, ice? Because to admit otherwise is to cross a boundary. To say aloud, this may be artificial, is to invite ridicule. To leave the safety of certainty for the wilderness of speculation. Human minds crave order, and the order of science insists that nature is enough. But what if it isn't? What if the reluctance to admit the possibility blinds us? Archaeologists once dismissed the ruins of Troy as myth. Astronomers once dismissed the idea of galaxies beyond our own. The truth was larger, stranger, waiting for courage to acknowledge it. Perhaps Atlas too waits for such courage. A thought experiment. Imagine for a moment that Atlas is artifact. Imagine that you are not an astronomer but an archaeologist. You stand before a ruin not of stone but of silence. You cannot touch it, cannot brush away the dust, cannot excavate. You can only watch, measure, interpret. What do you see? A body elongated, reflective, tumbling, fragments in formation, motion that hints at intent, contradictions that resist the label of natural. What conclusion do you reach? That this is not accident but artifact. That the anomalies are not flaws in data but fingerprints of design. That you are witnessing not geology but history, the narrative of coherence. And so the dots connect. The irregular light curve aligns with surfaces shaped by purpose. The spectral contradictions align with composites built, not born. The trajectory anomalies align with propulsion, however faint. The companions align with design, or with the order of relics. Natural theories struggle? Speculative theories cohere? That is not proof. But it is narrative, it is story, and story matters, for story is how humans begin to grasp what data resists. The whisper of the night. Step outside once more. The night is quiet, the stars steady. Somewhere above, Atlas drifts, tumbling, flickering. To the naked eye it is invisible, but in the mind's eye you can see it. Elongated, scarred, trailed by companions. A ruin in motion. A messenger in silence. As you look upward, imagine the connections. The fragments of data aligning like constellations. Each anomaly a star, each speculation a line. Together they form a picture. Not comet, not asteroid, but something stranger. Something deliberate. Something left behind. It whispers to you now, not in words but in presence. We were here. We built. We endured. And though we are gone, our echoes remain. The next step. Connecting the dots does not solve the mystery. It deepens it. It invites us forward, into darker speculation. For if Atlas is artifact, then whose? And for what purpose? Was it probe, relic, warning? Was it meant to be found or meant to pass unnoticed? And what does it mean that it trails a swarm like a shadow stretching into the void? The natural explanations have failed. The speculative explanations align. And so the path bends again, from curiosity to unease, from puzzle to warning, from archaeology to horror. The dots are connected, and the picture they draw is not comfort, it is shadow. There is a theory, whispered among astronomers and philosophers of the cosmos, known as the dark forest hypothesis. It begins with a simple truth. The galaxy is vast, old, and likely filled with life. But if that is true, why is it so silent? Why do we not see the signals of other civilizations? Why do we not hear their voices across the void? The answer, the hypothesis suggests, is fear. Imagine a dark forest stretching without end. Each tree conceals a hunter. Each hunter knows two things: that food is scarce, and that other hunters are out there, armed and waiting. To reveal yourself, to light a fire, to speak aloud, is to risk being heard and being destroyed. And so the forest is silent, not because it is empty, but because it is full. Full of watchers, full of hunters, each hiding, each waiting. The cosmos, according to this vision, is such a forest. Civilizations stay silent not because they cannot speak, but because to speak is to die. To broadcast your existence across the stars is to announce yourself to predators you cannot see. Survival, then, demands silence. And in this silence, what do we make of 3i Atlas? A scout in the dark. If the galaxy is a dark forest, then a probe like Atlas may not be innocent. It may not be a relic or a fragment or even an explorer. It may be a scout. A silent hunter's eyes, drifting through the void, watching for firelight, listening for voices. Its anomalies fit the role. The irregular brightness, not chaos but camouflage. The contradictory spectrum, not confusion, but designed to mimic natural forms. The subtle trajectory shifts, not error but control. The faint companions, not debris, but nodes of a network drifting in quiet formation. If Atlas is a scout, then it may be listening. It may be measuring our sun, our planets, our radio emissions. It may already know we are here. Perhaps it has already sent its signal back, a whisper across the void. This system has life. This system has voices. This system can be found. And if that signal has been sent, then we are no longer hidden. Our fire has been seen. A trap or a trigger. there is another possibility, more unsettling still. Atlas may not be only a scout but a trigger, a mechanism designed to awaken when certain conditions are met, a trap set in the forest, waiting for prey to stumble near. Imagine that its tumbling, its fragments, its glints of light are not meaningless but code, a signal waiting for response. If we probe too closely, if we send a beam, if we attempt contact, perhaps we trigger something. Perhaps its companions stir, unfold, reveal their purpose. Perhaps a dormant signal ignites, transmitting not just that we exist, but that we have noticed. And in the logic of the dark forest, to notice is to threaten. A species that can detect, can analyze, can question. Such a species may one day strike. Better, then, to strike first. The thought is unsettling, almost unbearable, that the act of studying Atlas, of pointing telescopes at it, of asking questions in the quiet of the night, might already have marked us. That curiosity itself could be fatal, the signal to the hunters. The third and perhaps most terrifying possibility is that Atlas itself is not the weapon, but the bait, a signal meant not for us, but for others. Imagine a forest where hunters set traps, not to kill prey directly, but to lure them into revealing themselves. Atlas could be such a trap. Its anomalies, its strangeness, its companions. They are meant to draw attention. Civilizations that notice, that lean closer, that speculate, are civilizations that betray their own existence. By studying it, by sending signals, by broadcasting our interest, we declare ourselves. And somewhere, unseen, another hunter listens. Another civilization waits. Not here, not in our system, but out there, in the long silence. Waiting for signs of prey, waiting for us to step into the clearing. In this reading, Atlas is not messenger, not probe, not relic, it is bait. And we, by noticing, have already been hooked. The weight of silence. Pause now. Step outside again into your imagination. The night is calm, the stars faint and steady. The air is cool against your skin. Look upward and imagine Atlas drifting through the heavens, silent and indifferent. Now imagine that silence not as absence but as tension. The silence of the forest at night, where every twig might conceal eyes, where every rustle might be danger. The cosmos above you is beautiful, yes, but in this vision it is also dangerous. To speak is to be heard. To be heard is to risk death, and humanity has already spoken. Our radio waves have been leaking into space for a century. Our transmissions have already lit fires in the dark. Perhaps Atlas was listening. Perhaps it has already heard. Perhaps the silence of the stars is not indifference but caution, and we have already broken it. The double-edged comfort, yet there is another way to see this. For if the galaxy is a dark forest, then we are not alone. The silence is not emptiness, but concealment. Civilization may be everywhere, hiding, surviving, watching. The forest may be full, not barren. Atlas, then, becomes not only a threat but a sign of presence, proof that others exist, that others have built, that others have survived long enough to scatter probes. That is awe, even within fear. But awe and fear often walk hand in hand, for to know we are not alone is to know we are not safe. The human response. What should we do then? If Atlas is scout, trap or bait, how should humanity respond? The truth is, we cannot know. To remain silent may be safest, but perhaps too late. To probe may be bold, but perhaps reckless. To ignore it may be futile, for it may already have noticed us. This is the paradox of the dark forest. Every choice carries risk. To act is to risk notice. To remain silent is to risk irrelevance. In the end, perhaps the only truth is that we are players in a game far older and larger than ourselves. And yet in our hearts, curiosity stirs. We are a species that cannot help but ask, cannot help but seek, cannot help but probe. To turn away from Atlas is impossible. To ignore it is unthinkable. And so, perhaps, we are already committed to the path, already in motion, already stepping into the clearing. The quiet terror. Close your eyes now. Imagine the forest. Dark. Endless. Filled with hunters. You carry a lantern. You lift it high. The light spills across the trees, and for a moment there is only silence. But then, rustling. Eyes. The knowledge that you have been seen. That is the feeling of the dark forest. That is the possibility Atlas awakens. That is the terror that hides within its anomalies. The turning point. Atlas may be natural, it may be ice, rock, dust, but if it is not, if it is scout, trap or bait, then the implications are profound. It means the silence of the stars is not safety, but strategy. It means civilizations exist but conceal themselves. It means we, by noticing, may have already revealed too much. And this is the turning point. For from here, speculation grows darker still. From scout to filter, from trap to extinction, from curiosity to horror. We stand at the edge of that darkness now. Ahead lies the possibility that Atlas is not only artifact but omen, a sign that the galaxy itself is hostile, that survival demands silence, and that we have already spoken too loudly. Take a breath. Inhale, exhale. Let the night settle around you. The stars remain steady. The earth turns gently beneath you. The visitor drifts on, silent, indifferent. And yet, within its silence, we hear the echo of a forest, where silence means survival, and sound means death. Atlas is passing through, but the thought it leaves behind will not pass so easily. The galaxy is ancient. Its stars have burned for billions of years. Its planets have spun in silence since long before our species took its first breath. With so much time, so much possibility, the question grows sharper with every night we gaze upward. Where is everyone? This question is known as the Fermi paradox. If life is common, if civilizations rise and spread, then the galaxy should be alive with signals, probes, and structures. Yet we see only silence. No radio messages, no starships, no clear signs at all. One proposed answer is as chilling as it is simple: the Great Filter. A barrier that prevents civilizations from enduring. A stage of development that few, or none, survive. Somewhere between the spark of life and the birth of a galactic civilization lies a filter so destructive that nearly all who reach it are erased. And what if Three-Eye Atlas is evidence of that filter? The stages of survival. To understand the filter, imagine the stages of a civilization's life. The birth of life from chemistry, the rise of intelligence from instinct, the mastery of tools, language, agriculture, the harnessing of energy, fire, coal, electricity, the leap to space, to rockets, to satellites, the spreading beyond a planet to other worlds, the spreading beyond a star across the galaxy. Somewhere in these stages the great filter waits. If it lies early, then life itself is rare, and we are among the lucky few. If it lies late, then many civilizations arise, but few endure beyond the dangerous adolescence of technology. And if it lies ahead of us, then our future may already be written. Atlas as evidence. If Atlas is relic, then it may be the fingerprint of a civilization that reached far, but not far enough. A people who built machines capable of surviving millions of years, yet could not survive themselves. Their probes endure, but they are gone. Their ruins drift, but their voices are silent. This is the essence of the Great Filter. Civilizations rise, scatter artifacts, and then collapse. The galaxy becomes not a chorus of voices, but a graveyard of relics. Silent probes, drifting ruins, faint anomalies mistaken for comets. Atlas, then, could be such a relic. Not a messenger of hope, but of warning. Proof that survival is hard, that even those who reach the stars do not escape extinction. The shadows of collapse. What destroys civilizations? Many possibilities have been imagined, each darker than the last. War. A species that masters nuclear fire may turn it inward. Worlds consumed not by natural disaster, but by their own hand. Plague. A disease that spreads faster than cures, burning through a population until silence remains. Resource exhaustion. Civilizations consume until nothing is left, collapsing under the weight of their hunger. Artificial intelligence. Creations that outgrow their makers, indifferent to their survival. Cosmic disaster. Supernova, gamma-ray bursts, impacts. Catastrophes that sweep life away in a blink. Perhaps the filter is not one thing, but many. A gauntlet of challenges, each enough to end a world, together enough to end nearly all. If Atlas is relic, then its builders fell to one of these shadows. They reached beyond their world, they scattered machines, they dreamed of endurance, and then they met the filter. The loneliness of survivors. Pause now. Imagine walking among ruins on Earth. Broken temples, collapsed walls, bones turned to dust. You feel both awe and sorrow. Awe at what once was, sorrow at what is gone. Now imagine the galaxy itself as such a ruin. Atlas is a shard of pottery on the cosmic floor. ʻOumuamua another. Borisov perhaps too, each a fragment of civilizations erased. If this is true, then we're walking in a cosmic graveyard. We're latecomers, moving among the bones of others. The silence is not emptiness, but aftermath. The galaxy is not quiet because no one was here, but because they were and are gone. And that raises the question we dread. Are we next? The filter ahead. If the great filter lies behind us, then we are lucky. Perhaps life is rare, and intelligence rarer still. Perhaps we are one of the very few to survive this far, destined to spread across the stars because others never rose. This is the hopeful reading. But if the filter lies ahead, then our destiny may mirror the ruins. We have mastered fire, electricity, rockets, but the most dangerous challenges still wait. Nuclear war, climate collapse, artificial intelligence, resource exhaustion. Our adolescence has only begun. If others fell here, why not us? Atlas may be warning, a relic that says, we too reached this stage, we too built machines, we too dreamed of forever, but we did not survive. The emotional weight, the thought presses heavily. It is one thing to fear death as individuals. It is another to imagine death as a species, to imagine all our voices, all our art, all our knowledge erased, to imagine Earth turning silent, its satellites tumbling, its ruins fading, its memory reduced to a few drifting machines like Voyager. This is the sorrow Atlas awakens. Not only the awe of contact, but the grief of recognition, that civilizations die, and that we may too. And yet, there is also resolve in this thought. For if the filter is ahead, then perhaps it can be faced. Perhaps knowing it exists is enough to prepare. Perhaps artifacts like Atlas are not only warnings, but gifts, reminders to tread carefully, to choose survival, to learn from the silence. The mirror of humanity. Look again at Voyager, at Pioneer, at New Horizons. They drift outward now, tiny, fragile, enduring. They may survive for millions of years, long after Earth has changed. One day, another civilization may find them, as we have found Atlas. They may wonder about us as we wonder now about others. They may whisper, who built this? Why are they gone? In Atlas we see our future reflected, a fragment drifting long after its makers are dust, a ruin among the stars, a message that survival is not guaranteed. The quiet reckoning. Step outside once more into the night of your imagination. The stars are steady, the air is still. Above, Atlas drifts indifferent. Perhaps probe, perhaps relic, perhaps ruin. But in its silence, it speaks. It says, the galaxy is not empty, it is filtered. The ruins are all around you, if only you can see them. The great filter is not a theory to fear, but a reckoning to accept. To live with humility, to choose survival, to remember that nothing, not even civilizations, lasts forever without care. Breathe, inhale, exhale. Feel the weight ease. The sky remains calm. The earth remains beneath you. We are here, alive, for now. Atlas passes, carrying its secrets. The future is unwritten. Toward the next step. From probe to relic to dark forest to filter, the path grows darker. And yet each step brings us closer to understanding. If Atlas is artifact, it tells us civilizations exist, but fall. If it is relic, it tells us the filter is real. If it is bait, it tells us survival demands silence. From here, speculation deepens still. For if the filter is real, and if Atlas is part of it, then what comes next may not be extinction, but something stranger. Invasion, transformation, even a rewriting of the very laws of nature. The story is not finished. The darkest chapters remain ahead. When you hear the word invasion, you may imagine ships crossing the skies, fleets descending through clouds, beams of light scorching cities, a sudden cinematic arrival. But the universe does not operate at the scale of cinema. It operates at the scale of time, of patience, of silence. If 3 Atlas is not comet, not asteroid, not mere ruin, then perhaps it is something else entirely. Not scout, not warning, but invasion. A form of invasion so subtle, so patient, that it unfolds not in days or years, but across centuries. Not loud, but quiet. Not seen, but felt. A silent invasion. Nanotech drifting in the dark. Imagine Atlas not as a single object, but as a container. Within its tumbling body, not ice or stone, but machines. machines so small they cannot be seen, even by our most powerful telescopes. Nanotechnology, dust-sized, molecule-sized, hidden in its mass. As Atlas drifts through our solar system, what if those machines are released? They scatter invisibly, carried by solar wind, falling into the orbits of planets. Perhaps they drift down through our atmosphere even now, unnoticed, indistinguishable from ordinary cosmic dust. What might they do? Perhaps they are seeds, programmed to wait, to replicate, to observe. Perhaps they drift into oceans, into soil, into cells, rewriting quietly, invisibly. Not an invasion of armies, but of particles. Not a strike, but a slow seepage. The terror of such an invasion is its invisibility. We would not know until it was far too late, and perhaps, by then, our biology, our ecosystems, our reality itself would no longer be our own. Panspermia reimagined. Another possibility is panspermia, the idea that life spreads across the cosmos not by chance, but by design. What if Atlas is not invasion, but seeding? What if it carries not machines, but biology, microbes, spores, genetic material, hidden within its tumbling shell? It passes through our solar system, scattering seeds across worlds. Some fall into the oceans of Europa, some into the thin air of Mars, some onto Earth itself. Not conquest, but cultivation. Not invasion, but planting. Perhaps this has happened before, perhaps it is happening constantly. Perhaps life on Earth itself began this way, seeded by an earlier object, another Atlas, millions of years ago. If so, then what we call us is already alien. Our origins lie not in the Earth alone, but in the galaxy itself. If Atlas is such a vessel, then it is not enemy, but ancestor. And yet, ancestor or invader, the effect is the same. Our world is changed forever by its passage. The laws of physics themselves. There is another possibility still, more unsettling than invasion or seeding. What if Atlas is not carrying machines or biology, but laws? Consider this. What we call physics is not fixed, but emergent. The constants we measure, light's speed, gravity's strength, matter's weight, may not be eternal. They may shift, bend, evolve under influences we do not yet understand. What if Atlas carries within it the seeds of such alteration? Imagine a machine designed not to spread biology, but to spread reality. A device that alters the structure of physics itself, rewriting constants, seeding new laws as it passes. To us, it would appear inert, a tumbling rock, but its very presence might ripple space-time, shifting probabilities, nudging reality onto a new path. What would that mean for us? Perhaps nothing at first. A slow, imperceptible drift in the constants of nature. Atoms binding differently, stars burning differently, biology adapting or failing to adapt. A universe rewritten, not in explosions, but in whispers. This is not invasion as we imagine it. It is deeper, more absolute. Not conquest of territory, but conquest of reality. The long patience. The theme uniting these possibilities is patience. Nanotech does not strike, it waits. Seeding life does not conquer, it grows. Altering physics does not announce, it unfolds. And patience is what the cosmos has in abundance. Our lives are brief, our civilization's brief, our history's brief. But the stars endure for billions of years. A machine designed with patience could spread silently, invisibly, until one day the forest of the galaxy is not dark, but transformed. If Atlas is such a machine, then its presence here is not accident. It is part of a long strategy, one we cannot yet perceive. The unease of unknowing. Pause now, step outside again in your imagination. The night is steady, the stars are calm, you breathe slowly in and out. All seems as it always has. But imagine now that it is not. Imagine that dust from Atlas is already falling through the air, already entering oceans and soils. Imagine that microbes seeded from its body are already dividing, already alive. Imagine that the laws of physics themselves are already shifting, imperceptibly, under its influence. Nothing has changed to your senses, and yet everything has changed. That is the unease of silent invasion. That is the weight of reality shift, the echo of past events, and perhaps this has already happened long before our time. Perhaps Earth itself bears the scars of past Atlas-like visitors, the sudden bursts of life, the leaps in evolution, the unexplained extinctions. Perhaps these are not accidents, but interventions, silent, patient, hidden. machines or seeds from elsewhere, rewriting the trajectory of life, nudging it forward or pruning it back? If so, then humanity is not merely a product of Earth. We are a product of the galaxy. Our existence may be the result of silent invasions long forgotten, reality shifts buried in prehistory. Atlas may be only the latest in a long chain of such arrivals. The terror of recognition. To think this way is to feel a peculiar terror. Not the terror of sudden threat, but the terror of recognition. The terror of realizing that the ground you stand upon, the air you breathe, the laws that govern your body may already be touched by something alien. Not in the future, not soon, now, already, always. Atlas may be passing, but what it carries may already be here, within us, around us, beneath the silence of the night sky. The thin comfort, and yet there is a comfort too. For if panspermia is true, if silent invasion is constant, if reality itself is shaped by such objects, then we are part of something larger. Our biology is galactic. Our physics is shared. Our story is not only Earth's, but the cosmos's. We are not victims alone, but participants in a grand process. The galaxy plants, the galaxy prunes, the galaxy rewrites. And we, by existing, are proof that life endures even amid such invasions. Perhaps Atlas is not threat but continuity, not enemy but ancestor, not end but beginning, the step beyond. But even this comfort carries unease. For if we are shaped by such events, then what are we truly? Are we our own, or are we the product of silent interventions? Are our choices free, or already written by seeds planted long before? These are not questions science can answer. They are questions of philosophy, of imagination, of night. But they are questions Atlas forces us to ask. Step outside one last time, into the night of your mind. The stars are calm. The earth is steady. The visitor drifts on, silent, tumbling, carrying its secrets. Perhaps nanotech. Perhaps seeds of life. Perhaps seeds of reality itself. Breathe. Inhale. Exhale. Feel the calm. For even in the face of silent invasion, of cosmic rewriting, there is serenity in knowing. We are part of something vast. Vast beyond fear. Vast beyond comprehension. And yet, the story does not end here. For if silent invasion is true, then the next question is darker still. What if Atlas is not only a seed or a shift, but a harbinger of something worse? A prelude to catastrophe. A whisper of extinction. That, dear listener, is where we go next. When we imagine the worst, our minds often leap to the familiar. A sudden impact, a blazing explosion, a war among stars. But the universe is not bound to our imaginations. Its worst scenarios are rarely sudden. They are slow, patient, inevitable, woven into the very structure of reality itself. And so, as we draw together the threads of speculation, probe, relic, scout, trap, seed, we begin to see what the true nightmare may be. Not a single explanation, but all of them, layered, interwoven. A worst-case vision in which Atlas is not just one thing, but many at once. Probe, relic, invasion, omen. A presence that embodies every fear we have whispered in the dark. The harbinger. Imagine Atlas as a harbinger. It drifts into our solar system not alone, but as the first sign of something greater. Its companions, faint and stable, are not fragments but outriders, scouts that move in formation. They collect data, they transmit signals, they wait. We imagine ourselves as observers, studying Atlas from afar. But what if the truth is inverted? What if Atlas is the observer, and we are the ones under the lens? Our telescopes, our transmissions, our curiosity, these are not acts of discovery, but responses to a test we do not know we are taking. And when the test is complete, the signal goes out, a flare of information across the void. This world has noticed. This world has reached the threshold. This world is ready, or dangerous. The harbinger does not act alone. It announces, and what it announces may already be on its way. The silent seeder. But Atlas is not only harbinger, it is also seed. As it tumbles, particles release, dust that drifts invisibly through the solar wind. Some fall into our atmosphere, mingling with the rain. Some settle into oceans, deep and cold. Some lodge in soil, waiting. These seeds are not random. They are nanotechnology, or microbes, or instructions encoded in molecules. They do not strike at once. They wait. They replicate. They weave themselves into ecosystems, into cells, into code. Perhaps they are benign, nudging evolution forward, planting the conditions for future intelligence. Or perhaps they are invasive, rewriting biology, turning ecosystems alien. Perhaps even now, as you breathe, such particles are already within you, dormant, waiting for a signal to awaken. The silent cedar does not conquer with armies, it conquers with time. The trap. And still, Atlas is more. It is also trap. Its anomalies, the irregular light curve, the contradictory spectrum, the faint companions, are not flaws, but bait. They are puzzles designed to be irresistible. Civilizations that reach our stage of technology cannot help but notice, cannot help but investigate, cannot help but send signals, beams, probes, and in doing so they reveal themselves. Their curiosity betrays them. Their hunger for knowledge becomes their undoing. Atlas is a mirror, reflecting civilizations back at themselves. Those who notice it are marked. Those who probe too far are erased. The trap is perfect because it does not need to act. It only needs to wait for us to act upon it. The relic of the fallen. Layered within all this is the final horror. That Atlas is also relic. That its builders are gone. That what it carries is not intention, but aftermath. This would mean the galaxy is full of ruins. Each probe we see, each anomaly we measure, is not a sign of thriving civilizations, but of collapsed ones. Atlas, then, is the tombstone of a species that did not survive the filter. Its message is not invitation, but epitaph. And the worst-case scenario is that both are true. Atlas is trap and relic. The traps are set, but the trappers are gone. The machines persist, carrying out purposes long after their makers vanished, their functions automated, their signals still alive. The forest is dark not because hunters still lurk, but because their weapons remain, firing blindly into eternity. The reality shift. And beneath all these layers is the possibility we can hardly speak aloud. Reality itself may be altered. If Atlas carries within it machines that rewrite the constants of nature, then everything we know is provisional. Gravity may change, light may bend differently, biology may drift into forms unrecognizable. Our world would not end with fire, but with subtle transformation, until one day Earth is no longer Earth and humanity no longer human. We would not even know when the process began. Perhaps it already has. The coherent horror. And so the worst-case scenario is not singular. It is coherent, layered, relentless. Atlas is harbinger, marking us to the wider forest. Atlas is seed, releasing dust that waits within us. Atlas is trap, luring us with anomalies into self-betrayal. Atlas is relic, proof that civilizations fall, leaving only ruins. Atlas is shift, altering the laws of nature themselves. Together these visions weave into one tapestry of cosmic horror. The possibility that the galaxy is alive with presence, but that presence is not kind, not neutral, not safe. The silence is not absence, but aftermath. The objects that drift into our skies are not accidents, but instruments. The worst case is not that Atlas is nothing, but that it is everything. The human response. What are we to do faced with such a vision? Some might argue for silence, turn away, stop looking, stop probing. Others might argue for boldness, send signals, declare ourselves, seek contact. But perhaps both are irrelevant. Perhaps the process is already underway, and nothing we do now can change it. Perhaps the seeds are already scattered. Perhaps the signal is already sent. Perhaps the trap is already sprung. And yet, knowing this, we do not despair. Instead, we reflect. For even in the face of worst-case horror, there is awe. Awe that we are here to witness. Awe that we can ask these questions. Awe that we are part of a story larger than ourselves. The gentle descent. Pause now. Breathe slowly. Inhale, exhale. Let your shoulders soften. Let your thoughts drift. The night sky is still above you. The stars are steady. Earth remains beneath you. Atlas continues to drift, indifferent, carrying its secrets. Perhaps harbinger, perhaps seed, perhaps trap, perhaps relic, perhaps all at once. The worst-case scenario is heavy, but it is not final. It is a vision, not a certainty. The universe is vast, and within its vastness anything is possible. Perhaps Atlas is harmless. Perhaps it is only stone, only ice. Perhaps the horror is only in our minds, but the possibility lingers like a shadow at the edge of thought. The possibility that the galaxy is darker, stranger, and more dangerous than we dare admit. And with that thought, we prepare to step from horror into philosophy, from nightmare into reflection, from fear into meaning. For even in the worst-case vision, there is still the question, what does it mean for us? When confronted with a mystery as deep as Thru's Atlas, it is tempting to linger only on the science, or only on the fear. But beyond speculation, beyond horror, there is something else waiting. Reflection. For in the end, what this interstellar visitor awakens most profoundly is not only questions about itself, but questions about us. The mirror of the cosmos is a mirror, and in it we see ourselves. When we gaze at the stars, we're not only measuring distances or cataloguing anomalies, we're asking, who are we? In all this immensity, Atlas drifts silently, indifferent to our curiosity, unconcerned with our fears. Yet in its silence, it forces us to confront our own place. We are a species barely awake in cosmic time. The galaxy has spun for billions of years. We have existed for a heartbeat. Civilizations may have risen and fallen long before us, scattering artifacts like Atlas across the dark. Civilizations may rise again long after us, never knowing our names. And yet, here we are, for this brief moment, awake, looking outward, asking questions. That is our gift, to look into the mirror of the cosmos and see not only emptiness, but meaning, the fragility of now, reflect for a moment on the fragility of our existence. Earth is small, a blue dot wrapped in a thin veil of atmosphere, orbiting an ordinary star. We are vulnerable to asteroids, to storms of radiation, to the warming of our own climate. Our societies are fragile too, bound by trust and fear, capable of collapse. And yet, despite all this fragility, we endure. We build telescopes, we send probes, we write music, we tell stories. We reach across the void not only with machines but with imagination. We are, as Carl Sagan once said, a way for the cosmos to know itself. Atlas reminds us of that fragility. It reminds us that civilizations may not last, that ruins may be our legacy. But it also reminds us of our resilience, our capacity to dream even in the face of silence. The great silence in the human voice. Why is the galaxy so quiet? Perhaps because of fear, perhaps because of filters, perhaps because civilizations do not endure. But in that silence, our voice is all the more precious. Our radio waves leak into space, carrying our songs, our greetings, our arguments, our laughter. Our probes carry golden records etched with the sounds of Earth. Rain, birdsong, human voices saying hello in 55 languages. These may one day be the only traces of us drifting as Atlas drifts, waiting to be found. The silence of the stars is vast, but our voice, however small, matters. To speak, to sing, to send our presence into the void is an act of courage. It is a declaration that we were here, that we lived, that we dared to dream of more. The gift of wonder. It is easy to let fear dominate, to see Atlas as trap, as harbinger, as omen. But fear is not the only response. There is also wonder. For even if Atlas is only rock and ice, think of the journey it represents. A fragment ejected from another star system, drifting across light years, across ages, across gulfs we cannot imagine, only to pass briefly through our sky, visible to our fragile eyes. To witness it at all is miracle enough, and if it is artifact, then the wonder only deepens. For then it is not merely stone, but story, not merely comet, but culture, a relic of minds like ours, or unlike ours, who too looked outward and dared to scatter their creations across the stars. Wonder does not erase fear. It stands beside it, offering balance. To live in awe is to live with open eyes, even when the darkness is deep. The question of meaning, in the end, what does it mean? What does Atlas, or the silence of the cosmos, or the very vastness of the night sky, tell us about the meaning of life? Perhaps the meaning is not given, but made. Perhaps the universe does not hand us purpose, but invites us to create it. In our brief span we craft stories, we love, we explore, we dream. That is meaning enough. Or perhaps the meaning is larger. Perhaps life itself is the universe's way of resisting entropy, of writing beauty into chaos. Perhaps every probe, every ruin, Every drifting shard is part of a larger pattern we cannot yet see. Perhaps the meaning is not in any one civilization, but in the cycle itself, the rise, the fall, the echo, the discovery. Whether small or vast, whether fleeting or eternal, meaning is found in the act of asking, and in asking we become part of the story. The comfort of smallness. Pause now. Step into your imagination once more. The night sky stretches above, calm and eternal. The stars glow faintly, scattered across the dark. You are small beneath them, fragile, brief. And yet, that smallness is not cause for despair. It is cause for comfort. For to be small is to be free of burden. The galaxy does not demand that you solve it. The stars do not require you to endure forever. Your life, your moment, is enough. You are a note in the cosmic symphony, and the symphony is beautiful not because of any one note, but because of the whole. Atlas drifts indifferent. The stars burn indifferent. But you, here now, can choose to see beauty, to choose awe over fear, to choose wonder over silence. That choice is what it means to be human. The philosophy of sleep. And now, as you listen, perhaps you feel your body soften, your breath slow, your thoughts drift. This too is part of philosophy. To rest is not weakness, but wisdom. The universe is vast and we are small. To let go, to sleep, is to surrender to that vastness, to trust that the stars will keep burning, that the earth will keep turning, even as you close your eyes. Atlas will continue its journey, the galaxy will continue its silence, and you will rest for now wrapped in the calm of night. The road ahead. From philosophy we will turn once more to the unsolved, for the mysteries remain. What Atlas truly is, why it defies explanation, what it means for us. We will gather them, not as answers, but as questions, as known unknowns. And in the final descent, we will let those questions fade into the rhythm of sleep. But for now, breathe. Inhale, exhale. The night is steady, the stars are calm, and in their calm you may find your own. Science advances not by certainties but by questions. It thrives not on what is solved, but on what remains unsolved. Every breakthrough begins as a mystery, every discovery as an unknown. And so, as 3 Atlas drifts beyond our reach, what lingers most is not clarity, but uncertainty. We are left with a constellation of mysteries, fragments of truth that refuse to align. They are the known unknowns, the questions we can name, even if we cannot yet answer. To acknowledge them is not weakness, but humility. For in the cosmos, humility is wisdom. The shape. First, the shape. The light curve of Atlas does not match simple geometry. It flickers irregularly, as though its surfaces are uneven, fractured, complex. Is it elongated, needle-like, as ʻOumuamua appeared? Is it fractured, a cluster of pieces, or is it something stranger, an engineered form, designed to glint and confuse? We cannot know. We measured only faint light, bent by distance, blurred by atmosphere. The true shape remains hidden, tumbling beyond the reach of certainty. The composition. Second, the composition. Spectra revealed contradictions, metals, silicates, perhaps faint signs of volatiles, but nothing clear. Was it cometary, rich in ice? Was it metallic, like an asteroid? Was it composite, built of many materials? Each interpretation fits part of the data, but not all. The contradictions remain. The true nature of Atlas's body is unknown. Perhaps it is natural, a blend of materials unseen before. Perhaps it is artificial, alloy and composite, built rather than born. The truth remains hidden within the tumbling silence of its form. The motion. Third, the motion. Atlas's trajectory deviated subtly from prediction. Not dramatically, but enough to matter. Small accelerations, nudges, shifts that could not be explained fully by gravity alone. Outgassing could explain it, if Atlas were a comet. Radiation pressure could explain it if Atlas were wafer-thin, but neither explanation fits cleanly. The motion remains anomaly. Was it thrust, controlled, or was it natural, but with physics we do not yet grasp? We cannot know. The object is gone now, its path stretching beyond the reach of telescopes. The mystery of its motion trails behind it, unanswered. The companions. Fourth, the companions. Faint points trailing near, stable in their spacing. Fragments perhaps, or escorts, or something else. Their presence is certain, but their nature is not. Were they shards of ice and rock splintered off during fragmentation, or were they part of a system, moving with order, designed to travel together? We cannot know. They faded too quickly, too faint for deeper study. Like whispers in a crowded room, they were noticed, but not understood. The origin. Fifth, the origin. From which star did Atlas come? Its hyperbolic path suggests an interstellar birthplace, but its exact trajectory cannot be traced backward with precision. Perhaps it came from the direction of Lyra, or perhaps elsewhere, nudged by countless interactions across eons. If it is natural, then it is the shard of a system long ago disrupted. If it is artifact, then it is the messenger of a civilization we cannot locate. Its birthplace is hidden, lost in the chaos of interstellar drift. The purpose. And finally, the greatest unknown, the purpose. If Atlas is natural, then its purpose is none. It is debris, wandering endlessly, indifferent to us. But if it is artifact, then purpose exists, even if we cannot know it. Was it Scout mapping the stars? Cedar planting life? Relic, remnant of the fallen? Trap marking those who notice? Harbinger, announcing our presence to the wider forest? Or was it something we cannot even imagine, rooted in logics and philosophies alien to ours? We cannot know. The purpose remains cloaked, drifting beyond reach, leaving only questions in its wake. The humility of science. It is tempting to demand answers, to insist upon certainty. But science is not certainty. It is the art of living with doubt, to stand beneath the stars, to measure faint light, to admit that you do not know. This is not defeat, but honesty. With Atlas, honesty demands humility. We do not know its shape. We do not know its composition. We do not know its motion, its companions, its origin, its purpose. We have guesses, we have models, we have imagination, but we do not know, and perhaps we never will. The beauty of mystery, but in that humility lies beauty. For mystery is not failure. Mystery is invitation. Mystery is the spark of curiosity, the seed of wonder. To live in a universe with mysteries is to live in a universe alive with possibility. If Atlas were simple, if it were easily explained, we would have measured, catalogued, and forgotten. Instead, it resists. Instead, it lingers. Instead, it invites us to dream of civilizations, of relics, of filters, of forests, of invasions, of seeds, of shifts. The known unknowns are not weights, but wings. They lift us into speculation, into awe, into philosophy. They remind us that knowledge is never complete, that each answer opens new questions. The continuity of mystery, and so Atlas joins a lineage of mysteries. ʻOumuamua before it, Borisov beside it. Countless anomalies across the history of science, pulsars mistaken for alien beacons, quasars misunderstood, fast radio bursts unexplained. Each mystery, a step, a question, a path forward. We may not know Atlas, but in not knowing, we are reminded of the continuity of mystery itself. The universe is not empty of answers. It is full of them, waiting, hidden, patient. We need only to keep asking. The known unknowns of us. And there is one more category of unknowns, the ones within ourselves. We do not know whether humanity will survive the centuries ahead. We do not know whether we will reach the stars or fall to our own filters. We do not know whether our probes will drift as relics, or whether our voices will echo in the chorus of civilizations. We do not know our own purpose. We do not know our own meaning. But like Atlas, we drift onward, carrying our questions, carrying our mysteries. And perhaps to be human is not to know, but to seek. To live not in certainty, but in wonder. The soft descent. Breathe now. Inhale slowly, exhale gently. Feel the air pass through you, calm and steady. Let your body soften, let your thoughts ease. The night sky remains above, endless and serene. The stars glow, steady and silent. Atlas drifts beyond reach, carrying its mysteries. Known unknowns trail behind it like a comet's invisible tail. Shape, composition, motion, companions, origin, purpose. Each unanswered, each alive with possibility. And we here below watch and wonder. That is enough. For in the end, the greatest gift of the cosmos is not certainty, but mystery. Not answers, but questions. Not knowledge, but wonder. Toward the final descent. From here, we turn one last time, into the final descent, into the soft letting go, the gentle surrender to sleep. The story of Atlas is not finished, nor is it solved, but it carries us gently into reflection, into rest. The known unknowns remain, and so do we. Small beneath the stars, fragile beneath the silence, alive with questions, and that is enough. The story of Through Atlas does not end with answers. It ends, as most true stories of the cosmos do, with silence. Silence not of emptiness, but of immensity. Silence not of absence, but of mystery. We have walked a long road together, from discovery to data to anomalies, from failed explanations to daring speculation, from awe to fear to philosophy. And now, as the object itself drifts beyond the reach of our instruments, so too we drift, toward reflection, toward sleep, toward the deep sea of dreams, the slow drift of the object. Picture Atlas now in your mind's eye. It is no longer close, no longer bright in our telescopes. It drifts outward, past the orbit of Saturn, past the cold halo of Neptune, past the far reaches of the Kuiper belt. Its companions follow, silent, faint, steady. The sun grows dim behind it. Stars ahead sharpen. The solar system fades, a bubble of light shrinking into distance. Atlas continues, indifferent to our curiosity, carrying its secrets into the eternal dark. It will not return. Its path is hyperbolic, its course irreversible. It came from elsewhere, and to elsewhere it will go. Our glimpse was brief, our questions eternal. The slow drift of the listener. Now picture yourself, lying quietly in the dark, your breath steady, your body softening. Like Atlas, you too are drifting. Not through the cosmos, but through the inner expanse of mind, into the soft edges of sleep. Your thoughts are like faint stars, flickering, scattered. Your worries, your noise are like fragments trailing but fading, losing coherence. You are carried forward, slowly, gently, without effort. Just as the object drifts into the interstellar void, so too do you drift into the inner void of dreams. Both journeys are endless. Both are peaceful. The stars above. Above you, in imagination, the stars remain. Billions of them. Each a sun, each with worlds, each with stories untold. The galaxy is vast, the silence deep, and yet you are part of it. Your heartbeat, your breath, your life are notes in its music. Look at the stars one last time before your eyes close. They shimmer faintly, patient, eternal. They do not hurry. They do not demand. They simply are. And in their quiet presence, you too may rest. The gentle release. Feel your body now. The weight of it sinking into the bed, the ground, the earth. The muscles releasing, the thoughts softening, the tension dissolving. Each breath a letting go, each breath a step deeper into stillness. You have carried the story of Atlas across hours, across visions of wonder and dread. Now you do not need to carry it anymore. Let it go. The story drifts on without you, as the object itself drifts on without us. You may rest. The philosophy of sleep. What is sleep, if not a kind of cosmic journey? Each night we surrender our consciousness, our certainty, our control. We drift into a darkness vast and strange, filled with fragments of memory, flashes of dream, echoes of meaning. We return, but changed. Sleep is not emptiness, it is transformation. Just as Atlas is not only rock but possibility, sleep is not only silence but renewal. To rest is to join the rhythm of the universe itself, expansion and contraction, activity and stillness, light and dark. Let yourself fall into that rhythm now. Let sleep take you, not as conquest, but as gift. The eternal drift. Atlas will continue its journey long after we are gone. It will drift among the stars, perhaps to pass another system, perhaps to vanish forever in the dark between galaxies. We will never know. Its path is endless, its secrets eternal. But we too drift, not only in sleep but in life. The earth drifts around the sun drifts around the galaxy drifts through the expanding universe. We are always in motion, always carried forward, whether we notice or not. You are part of that drift, safe within it, held within it. You need not struggle, for the journey carries you always into tomorrow. The known unknowns of dreams. Sleep is its own kind of known unknown. We know it comes, we know it restores, but we do not know what dreams will bring. Just as Atlas leaves us with questions, so too do our dreams. They are fragments of mystery, images without explanation, stories without end. and yet, like Atlas, their beauty lies not in answers, but in wonder. As you drift now, you may dream of stars. You may dream of ruins. You may dream of oceans or forests or faces long forgotten. Whatever comes, it is part of the vastness within you, as the galaxy is part of the vastness beyond. Let the dreams come. Let the questions remain. Both are gifts. The gentle farewell. And so, we say farewell. Farewell to Atlas drifting outward. Farewell to speculation, to wonder, to fear. Farewell to the long arc of questions that will remain long after the object itself has gone. And farewell to this waking moment, for now you too drift outward, away from wakefulness into sleep. You too leave behind questions, noise, and worry. You too follow a path into silence. There's no need to resist, there is only letting go. The final descent. Close your eyes now if they are not already closed. Feel the darkness around you, soft and steady. Feel your breath slow and calm. Feel yourself drifting, gently, peacefully, into the quiet. Like Atlas, you are carried forward. Like the stars, you are steady. Like the universe itself, you are vast, mysterious, and beautiful. Drift now, drift into silence, drift into sleep. The story is finished, but the journey continues. Yours, and Atlas's, and the galaxy's. Each in its own way, each in its own time. Good night.